Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to this pick a reading. It's a podcast pick a reading. Welcome to my home with grace and gratitude. I welcome you here. I've already asked all that shouldn't be here, or that, let's just put it this way, we are prayed up. I called in the big guns. We are divinely protected. Some people like this format, some people do not. I ran across somebody, I believe their channel is called Monetize or Magnetize Yourself, something like that, I believe. It could be that. And they only do podcast picker readings. And I was so shocked to see that they had over 300,000 subscribers. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, maybe I'm missing the mark a bit. Meaning that if you have worked with me one-on-one, you know this is how I do it. Sometimes with certain people, I will do Zoom, or I'll do a recorded reading, because recorded readings are like almost half the price of a session with me, and you get the same thing. It's still me and you, and you get to, keep it and reference it. It's a private link for you. As long as YouTube's around, it'll always be there for you, that you can go back and watch it, which they're fun to do. But, normally I really like it more like this, because as I'm talking to you, my eyes are closed. Like when I'm channeling, when I'm working with spirit, I'm just in my own world. I'm in like multiple dimensions all at once. And so I find it way more grounding to do it in this format where it's just my voice, it's just the messages. Now, I'm going to take pictures and put them in the community section. As I've said before, always check out the community section because there's a lot of fun pearls and gems in there. Sometimes there's little mini readings in there. So check it out. And I find that the visuals are lovely and I love them. But I remember one of our tribe members had said to me in recent years, and I know she didn't mean it the way it came out, but I was like, oh, because when somebody says, I miss the old you, or I miss this version of you, or I miss this blah, 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 it's like, well, that always will live on, but this is me now. And she said something to the effect of, I miss the old you and your old readings. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, when I met you, she's like, you didn't use anything. She's like, you just sat there and told me. She goes, my husband, her husband who had passed, she's like, my husband was like sitting in the room with us. She's like, there's no way. She's like, you like said his outfit and like everything about him. And she's like, that's just she's like, I'd been to psychics, she's like, she was, I literally felt like we both were seeing him. She's like, that's your gift, like that's what you do, you connect, you can see, you have all these abilities. And it was, I knew what she was saying, and that's what she was saying. But at first I took it up, I kind of got upset because I was like, well, I like my channel, and like, I like the things that I do. And, because that's my ego, right? That's like, I worked really hard for this. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, I could have advertised when people were like, you only have, I'm like, are you kidding? I look at it like I have 998 people who value something from me, that they gave me a subscribe, even if they never come again. You know what I mean? Some people probably subscribe to millions of people. Like maybe that's the way that they put their gratitude out into the universe, but it was just really interesting to me. So in recent months, I've been really going through this tear down of myself, my old self, my current self, the self that I still long to be. And in that time, as you know, and if this bores you, if you can go straight to your picker reading. You can go straight there. There are links provided to go straight to your reading. On some of these things that I do, like when I do like the last reading I did for the first quarter moon for the tribe. It was so long and I talked so much about myself, and when I was editing it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like nobody cares. Like I was just like, this is like, I'm like, so much of this could have been like not said or internal dialogue or whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna put timestamps in for these poor people so they could just get the medicine and leave. And Spirit was like, I think you misunderstand how many people actually really care about you and really care about your journey and do care about Alder and do care about Baba and do care about your mom and your family and all that. They love you. They value you. And I just was like, okay, you know. So, with that being said, I also want to lead into thank you for those of you who contributed. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. The recent contributions to this channel have been so wonderful. So many of you have prayed, sent monetary donations. I've just been prayers. I mean, I've just been feeling so much from all of you. I feel uplifted. I feel like you have my back. I know for those of you, thank you for the shares. Thank you for, I know you guys, I mean, I feel it. I feel it. I know. I'm so grateful. I just want you to know that I know and I'm grateful and I see you. So, welcome back to our family who have been here with me for years. Some of you, I was running into some old readings and I was watching them and they were for like years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And you guys are still here and you're still contributing. And that means so much to me. Your faithfulness, your loyalty, not just to me, but to yourselves and to this process, and that you believe in yourself and you believe in the teachings that are coming through me. And so I just want to tell you, in this new year, it's the 111 portal. There's so many lead-ins. There's so many things to talk about. I took notes just in case. So yeah, blessed 111 portal. Thank you to the angels and the archangels and all of you that are here. I called in the healing energies. All you have to say is, thank you, Spirit. I accept this healing energy. I accept these transmissions, and they will come to you. But I sent out healing energies to everybody. Before I opened the portal, I laid the foundation with some really good groundwork with our higher selves and spirit and just foundation in general. And then I was very blessed to realize that I was like, oh yeah, it's 111 and we're in a 9 year. So if you add 1 and then 11 is 2 and 9, it's 12. And if you add that together, it's 3. So if that means anything for you guys in numerology, tomorrow is going to be a 13 day. And on Monday, Moon Day, it will be a full moon in Cancer. So in real time, I'm assuming they're going to have me put this out soon, because in real time, we are just a few days away from the full moon in Cancer. I tried starting this reading a million times. I had a situation, just a lot of revelations before this started. And I felt so much of your pain and your suffering and your loss. I felt all of you. Just know that I feel you. And then Baba came out and I had a massive cry with her. And she's still here. I really want to put her down just because it's been really tough to watch how much she's suffering, to watch just like her incontinence has been really hard on my, that's another reason why I think they're having me do the podcast. Like, when I feel good, I want to like get ready and be cute and be there for you guys. When I was editing the first quarter moon reading, I mean, I know I'm beautiful and all that, like inside and out, blah, blah, blah. I get it, right? But when I was watching it back, I'm like, dude, I look fucking rode hard and put away wet, as they used to say. Like, I was just like, man, I look rough shed. But I am. And that's why I think so many of the donations rolled in, because I think some of you guys were like, oh, babe, like, you're looking rough. Well, let me tell you, that fucking money saved our life. So thank you. It literally saved our lives. I was down to like putting my finger through my lotion bottle, like trying to get the last of my lotion, like using like my chopstick to get out the last of my chapstick. You know what I mean? Like my lip balm. I mean, it was like, so thank you. And all of the money that you guys sent in, like literally like helped us and fed us, and thank you. So I can't thank you enough. It helped put money towards rent and the electric, and we got the rent paid. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm still always ever tackling bills, so if you have it to give, thank you for the donations. If you don't, the prayers are seriously just as good. The abundance comes, okay? So thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, a little shout out, if you didn't watch the first quarter moon reading, I'm actually going to link them all together. The shorts that I did that started this on New Year's Eve, it was right at like the new moon, the new year, the new, like everything, you know what I mean? It was like everything, the new month. We pulled runes that started this from one of our tribe members, Anna, who made the runes. They're magnificent and magical. If you're interested in them, I'm sure I can connect you with her to make you a pair. But or maybe you guys will be drawn to have her make you something else, but she made mine with shells and they were just so beautiful. So you have to go see that in the first quarter moon reading and in the shorts. I'll put links in the description box for those. I always have little breadcrumbs for things to link you to other things, when I can. But yeah, this has been a really intense experience for all of us. And I heard one of my spirit guides go, and we're coming back around, we're coming back around, because I'm realizing that some of the scatterbrain that I've had isn't just the lack of sleep, taking care. I'm in hospice mode right now, right? Like that's what Bubba said to me today. She's like, it's like she came to me through her crone and her elder, like, um, because she's been peeing everywhere again. And I'm like, why? I'm like, why are you doing that? And like yesterday, I used the very, very, very last of like, well, not the very last, but there's like maybe a cap full of vinegar left, but I've been using vinegar, right when she pees, I pour it right on there. I live in a tiny home, I don't have access to water. I have to get my water and bring it in. And, just the last few days, I think I've gone through 15 or no, like 10 gallons of water, just like cleaning, you know what I mean? Which you don't realize it because it's coming out of your tap. But let me tell you, you really realize like when you're in, and it's not lack. Spirit brought me to this place so that I can really understand what other people on the planet are going through, so that I can not just feel it as an empath, but like really, really understand it, so that I can get in touch with my ancestral roots, you know. But anyway, I had a breakthrough with Baba, and it was right before this, and I cried so hard. And I'm telling you right now, I feel like I took all of your energy and transmuted it. I had a big fucking cry, and then I sent the healing energies in. My whole body is like on shivers right now. Like I can feel angels' hands all over my body, and I hope that you're feeling them too. The best way to listen to these is with your eyes closed, because then you're not like looking here and looking there. And like, it's the thing is, the reason why they have us close our eyes in meditation and why it's much easier to attach yourself to the divine and detach yourself from the third dimensional world and your avatar is so that you can really, really connect the vines. For many, many moons, I have had so many blockages that I was ready to give up, because I was just like, I felt like, I'm like, why can't I see this? Or why can't, And then today, Baba showed me, because it's the control. I can't control her incontinence. I'm like, yeah, but how come you're peeing some? Because like some days she's like totally fine, and then other days it's like she just pees wherever she wants, like all day. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, fucking show me why. And there's all these blockages. And she's like, and then today she said, what if this was just like my journey? And like, what if you start looking at me as like an elder, on hospice? And I'm like, I have been looking at you that way. She goes, no, no, you look at me like you're familiar. And then I realized, and then she showed me all these things and all the lessons that she's actually been teaching me through all of this, through my demise of my marriage, like just all of it, through my mother passing away, all within these months together, And I'm not the only person on the planet going through this, you know. I'm gonna try not to cry right now. Oh shit. Give me a second. And like as the truck goes by, when I opened my eyes for a second, it was 1354, which is 13 is the number of the divine feminine. It's also my birthday, but 54 is a 9, and we're in a 9 year. So as many of you know, LA is up in flames right now. Los Angeles, California. And though I didn't have the privilege at the time to live there, so many of my memories are gone, just burned away. I lived almost 10 years in Los Angeles. Um, 8.5, almost 9, I think, off and on. Mostly on. I left for a while and then came back for 6 months, and I wasn't sure if I was going to stay there and live. It was like two paths I can take: stay there and live, or go back and deal with, things. And I chose to go back and deal with things. Um, but when I lived there, I lived in Hollywood first, and then I moved to the Valley, and I lived in Sherman Oaks, and I lived in Reseda. But one of my favorite things to do, and when I really needed to get the fuck away from everything and the drama and the people and the bullshit and the just everything, I would jump in my convertible, I would put my top down, and I would go to Malibu. One of my favorite destinations was Zuma Beach. And Zuma was something I found, or was something that became closer to me towards the end of my time there, because when I first lived there, um, that my main car was the convertible. It was a white on white convertible, and then I ended up getting a Jeep, and it was a black top but white Jeep with gray interior. And I used to love to jump in. I would smoke a joint. Like, I know I shouldn't say this, but I can't get arrested because there's no proof. But I used to love smoking weed and driving because I'm such a good driver, and weed's like my medicine. So like I'm actually a better driver, a better functioning on everything on weed. Like I wouldn't get high, like I would just like be mellow, and I would just like drive on the PCH. And I had a whole pattern that I would go. Topanga Canyon was like one of my favorite places. My favorite vintage store in the world was up there in this old house with a one-eyed bulldog and this old lady who was an old starlet who used to tell stories, and like, oh my gosh, she was amazing. And then she started to get dementia, and like her kids took over, but it was still going. And I don't know, I had to stop watching the news because I couldn't watch anymore. Burn Up, like I couldn't watch it. And just seeing Jamie Lee Curtis cry on television talking about it, she's like, my whole neighborhood is gone. She's like, the whole Palisades are gone. I'm like, oh my god. So it's just a burning. And it's so weird because I can't help myself. Every time I see like another story come up with another celebrity who lost their home, I'm like curious to know, like reading into it, like why, you know what I mean? Like why their house? Why, you know what I mean? Like Jennifer Garner was like, why is my house okay? Like why, like, and it's not because she's like looking for sympathy and playing the victim. She's just like, she's trying to sort it out. She's just like, I just feel like I've had so much death and loss in this last year. I had no idea I was going to go down this road. Hold on. Okay. I took a break. I feel better first. Okay. Okay. I had no idea that was coming in, you guys. I had no idea. I would apologize, but I feel like obviously somebody is going through something too, or maybe you needed a good cry. But man, this full moon in Cancer is no fucking joke. So the angels are with us, and they're showing us that nothing lasts forever. It's been going on since the dawn of time. We're witnessing it all over the planet. The planet is literally having a cleansing and a replenishing. So much is going to happen. So much is yet to still happen. So I want you to prepare yourself. And when I asked Spirit, like, do we have a theme for this? Because if you watched the shorts where I pulled the runes, I said, I have a feeling this is going to be a picker reading. And since there were three, I saw three readings. And so since there were three runes, I just assumed those would be the topics. Then if you go to the first quarter moon reading, that's longer, and it's like a life update, channel update, all that. You'll see that I pulled more runes for each group. And again, I thought when I was done with that, I took pictures of them, which I will be putting in the community section. And I took pictures of all the runes that I pulled for each pile. And then I realized they were each little picker readings. And they're like, it's like a little treasure map for you. Like if you're drawn, you can go to each one if you want, you know. But each one, you're going to see the different runes. And and they had me, you know, put in like crystals and stones and stuff. And they had me, you know, put them a certain way, and you know, and the best part is they had me do the backs of the runes because Anna made them out of seashells, so they had me do the backs, take pictures of the backs of the runes so that you could see the rune symbol and work with it, and then they had me flip it over in the same position so that you could see the word that coincides with it, and then you can research it, and then you can get more medicine. But those are not the runes that we are using for this reading today. Well, actually, that's not true. We are using them. Those 3 came out, but they're for their own readings. And as you've already seen in the description box and in the timestamps, each reading 1, reading 2, reading 3 has a word that comes from the rune. And then it has a coinciding, like reading 1. Let me get it out. We're going to keep talking about a few things, but I want to just say it now. So here are, I went to December and just like opened it up like it was normal, like I was there. So maybe there's something back in December that you need to look at again. I don't know. You know, Mercury was in retrograde. There's a lot of things that were going on. We had 2 new moons in the same month, a dark moon. Maybe there's something there for, I don't know, could be, my eyes actually went to Christmas, but Christmas and Hanukkah began at the same time on the 25th of December 2024. So maybe this is timeless, you know, of course. So maybe there's something in there for you at another time, like when you're going to watch this, somebody else in the future. Hello, future people. Welcome. I love that shit. Okay. So for this reading today, that's tied into those other readings. Reading 1 is Owl, the Unknown. Reading 2 is Lemongrass, Heritage, which, I mean, come on. Reading 3, White Feather, and Destiny. So let me tell you how this all, like, I mean, this whole thing is breadcrumbs and puzzle pieces, and I feel like that's what they're trying to tell us. Like, anytime I try to go in and see a reading, or, you know, or like I'm drawn to a reading, I'll get this vibe like, you know, not today, not now, but I like just know I'm supposed to look at that reading. I'm like, I just know I'm supposed to look at it. They're like, yep, but not today, not today, not today. Sorry, I just realized I had the book in front of my face. I hope you guys could hear me because I'm doing this a little differently. But it's been so magical to just watch this whole process of the whole thing, the whole human condition, the whole, it's just been, I don't know if you guys are feeling the same, but as much as I'm feeling anger and pain and suffering, I'm also feeling drive and resonance and relief and release and balance. And I feel like this full moon in Cancer is giving us something that we haven't had in a really long time. So prepare yourself. I'll probably do a shorts or something for it, but prepare yourself to really, 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 like you have never released before. Because when the new moon in Aquarius comes around on the 29th, it's also going to be the Chinese New Year, Year of the Snake. So the fact that we're in the age of Aquarius, that the new moon in Aquarius is also on a Chinese New Year, it doesn't always happen like that. I mean, Chinese New Year, it goes by the lunar cycles, so it's always different. There, you can't like set your watch. I mean, you could, you know what I'm saying, like, but basically it's not always January 1st, right? So these are not coincidences. There's no such thing. It's also no such thing that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on the same day of inauguration. You know, it's like all of these like things that are happening. I feel like there's going to be some serious things that are going to be happening. I don't know exactly what. I don't want to go into any like fear-based situations because I feel like these readings are for hope. But I also feel like these are messages that we really need to hear right now, because when I was putting this together, this one feather that I always thought was from Rusty, I realized they're like, no, it's an owl feather. I'm like, what? And I looked at it again. I'm like, oh my God, it is. I'm like, how have I never seen this as an owl feather? And it is, and it's a big, beautiful owl. And I'm almost positive it came from, we had these owls when we lived on the farm. You may have seen an old video I did where it was the two owls that were dancing in the moonlight, and I was like crying taking a video of it because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't happen. How often do you see two owls dance in front of a full moon in front of you at night? And it was dusk too, so I can see them enough. Like, you can see them on the camera. If Spirit calls me to, I'll try and find that video and I'll link it below. But it's so beautiful. I made a shorts from it too. That was because it was just like unbelievable. I was like, this is, I mean, I cried. I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you, Spirit. You know what I mean? Because I was like, those are gifts. They're gifts. So if you're really drawn to the owl, or, you know, because at first I'm like, oh, is the owl our medicine, you know, for the day? Like, and it is like, take it, you know. But also it was specifically for reading one. And the rune that came in was the unknown. So interesting that we have the owl and unknown. And what are they? Creatures of night, right? They can see things we can't see. They see past the shadow. They see past all that. I'm gonna share this with you, and it is with a heavy heart that I share this with you. But I have had really horrible moments that, after lack of sleep, like, I can only imagine things that why parents hold guilt, right? Because the things that I did to Bubba, that if I didn't tell you about it, nobody would know but me and her and the spirits, right? But like, she started to pee, and it was just a natural reaction, because she was like, it was the way she was doing it. She was like on my bed, but like with her ass off my bed, peeing. She didn't want to pee on my bed, but she peed off the side of my bed onto my wool rug, onto my wood floor. I'm like, and I just smacked her. I hit her so hard she flew, because the old Baba would be so strong. She probably would have just held her own, or she would have just like toppled. But because she's so frail, and she's, and then and then like today, it's like I started to cry when I felt so sick to my stomach. Was, she's like, would you knock an old lady down? Like, would you go and push an old lady down across the room like you just did to me? And I was like, no, of course I wouldn't. But I was like, but I was trying to stop her. I was trying to push her, because I had a pee pad like right, like not that far, and I was like trying to push her like onto the pee pad. But I didn't. I pushed her, and I pushed her hard, and I pushed her, and I was like, oh my God. And I did it a few times more, and then I started to realize, I'm like, what? I'm a fucking monster. And I was just calling Alder a monster the other day. I was like, he's a monster. He's a monster. Like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of like just like seeing that his shadow is just like where he's at and part of him or whatever, I was calling him a monster. I'm like, well, what fucking monster am I? So easy to point the finger at somebody else. She's not just an animal. She is my best friend. Like, you know, because I was upset with her that I'm so depleted on every level. I've been so ungodly depleted. And I realized that when I was growing up, violence was how we solved problems. You sass back, you get a smack. You get in trouble, go get the belt. You know, my mom is yelling at my dad, smacks her across the face. That's how things were dealt with. Sorry, I'm trying to change my position here. So that's how things were dealt with in my house. Oh, when I looked down, it was 11:01. Oh my gosh, which is 111 backwards. Oh my gosh, Spirit. So the fact that, like, after I fled from my family and my friends, I couldn't take it anymore. I tried to stay with my family and friends that I grew up with. I tried to stay where I grew up. I started working downtown Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs. I started working downtown thinking this would be it. This would, this would help me. I'll get a job. I'll move downtown. I'll, whatever. But every time I was downtown, I liked it, but I couldn't wait to get out of there. I didn't realize at the time that I was a telepathic medium, empath, and all these other things, like, right, this highly sensitive person. I had no idea. I just knew that, like, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I loved being there, but then I wanted to go home. I wanted to be back in my quiet suburb, in my quiet, apartment, condo, whichever one I was at the time, and that's where I wanted to be. And every time I thought I was going to like build a life, something happened, quote unquote, to me, but it was actually happening for me. But I couldn't see it at the time. When I was in the midst of buying my condo, because I was like, I had enough money, I had, whatever, but I realized I didn't want to live downtown. So I'm like, I'm going to get a really nice place out here in the suburbs and I'll just take the train. I found this condo that I just fell in love with. It was just the cutest thing. It had a sunken living room. I was like, oh my gosh, I want a sunken living room. I was like, this is awesome. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. The price was amazing. It was just great, right? But come to find out, my fiance, who I was going to marry, was embezzling money from me for 6 months. We were together for 2.5 years. He was 9 years older than me. And a lot of people were like, why are you with him? He's a loser, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, he's an awesome person. I was always like making excuses for him and whatever. But then when I was losing everything I'd built for, everything I'd worked years for, every snowy, frozen, hardcore winter day in Chicago where I had to use an extension cord to put the blow dryer on my lock so that I can get in my car and drive to the train station and then wait in the freezing cold for the train and take the train, fall asleep because it's nice and cozy, it's dark in the morning, then wake up, walk, half a mile to my job in the freezing cold. You know what I mean? Like, I did that for a very long time, for years, to build this equity and like build this life, and it was taken away from me in minutes when everything came to. I had to file bankruptcy for the first time. I had an American Express card when I was 19 years old. I was that responsible. And I didn't come out that way. I was kind of a fuck up and a partier and all that because of the life that I had and all these things. And, I had to turn my life around. I had to go through all these lessons. And it's because of all these life experiences that I am here today to be this teacher, to be this channel for you, to look at your life, to look at your experiences so that you see that, we're not perfect. I'm an earth angel, but I had to have a human experience. And I took on some of the hardest, worst human experiences that anyone could possibly take on. And there are some that have taken on way worse than me. I just watched The Bone Collector again. I've only watched it, like, I'm almost done, but I had to watch it 2 different, because it's such a great movie, but it's just so gruesome. But it was like, it made me realize, like, like, those people exist. Like, there are people out there. There are human beings out there that are doing these horrible things. Look at Jeffrey Dahmer. It's like The Bone Collector was just a movie, and it's a phenomenal movie if you haven't seen it. But if you're really sensitive like me, you probably won't be able to handle it. I only can watch it because I've seen it so many times that I kind of know what's coming, and I'm like literally closing my eyes and watching through my split fingers, to watch, because it's so good. Angelina Jolie and like Denzel Washington are so good in this movie. Like, it's so good. And Queen Latifah, like, it was all the early years. It's free on YouTube right now if you can deal with the commercials, but I was just like, when I saw that it came up, I'm like, oh, that was like one of my favorite movies of all time. I think I've seen it like 5 or 6 times, even though, like I said, it was gruesome. But I love anything that has a really good story, that has like an origin story. It's like Silence of the Lambs. It's gruesome and grotesque and horrific. But you realize that at the base of all of that is usually some form of trauma that somebody has disassociated and disconnected and completely detached from any type of human reality to express their desires and their dreams of getting their revenge. And Spirit is showing us now that everything, what you reap, you sow, and karma is very real. So even though, I've been like, what is my fucking karma? Every time Baba pees here or pees there, I'm like, what is my karma? Today, she showed me the whole thing when we were in meditation, and I was like, oh my God. And everything she showed me was a path to get me to here today. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is. And I'm glad that I had the vinegar. And then miraculously today, she started going on the pee pads again. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I cried and I begged her for forgiveness and for everything that we went through. And I was like, man, you are the warrior. I'm like, I will never, ever be able to repay you for what you gave me in this lifetime. You know, seeing her and treating her, it's like I wasn't there to take care of my mom. I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be here with her. I was supposed to be at the end of this chapter with Alder. Like the three of us, we've been, even though we've had our ups and our downs, we've been the Three Musketeers. Today's a 3-day. We've been the Three Musketeers for so long, and we've been each other's only family. I found Bubba at a bus stop. You know what I mean? I was looking for a cat that day online. I mean, what are the odds, right? And then come to find out, one of the people that were there in the cafe runs a cat rescue, and she paid for, well, the rescue paid for everything. I said, no, I was going through the shelter, blah blah blah, and I want to save an animal that's going to be put down. She's like, we don't know, what if she's going to get hit by a car later today? She's like, no, like the cafe said she's been hanging around here for a week. So she was there waiting for me. It was just a few blocks from my house, and I'd only been to that cafe like one other time. And then I just heard, go with your laptop down to the Wi-Fi and like go down and whatever. And I was like, okay, and that's how we came to be, and that's how it happened. It's like, that's how stuff happens. Like things, sorry, I don't want to, sometimes I listen to these back and I hear how scratchy it was. I apologize. One of these days I will have nice or more fancy, or maybe I'll have a microphone or something more fancy, but for now, this is what I have, and this is what I have to use. Even the screen, if you looked at the screen, do you notice how it's like in 3 different colors? It was like, when I saw, that was like one of the first things I saw when this came to be. I'm like, this is really powerful. So everything has a new beginning, everything has a middle, and everything has an end. Allow the end to come. I can no longer hold space for the energy that happens between Alder and I when we're together. And I realize that it is just best for both of us at this point moving forward to literally have as little contact as possible. Even Baba, like, as much as I want her to have, a moment with him or, whatever, it's like, I feel like whatever they've had may be the only thing they have, or maybe it'll be like one more time. I don't know, but I think I was trying too hard to hold on to my family. And the wisdom of the owl came to me and showed me that the unknown is what I'm most afraid of. And when I was growing up as a child, my house was so imbalanced and unknown that I strived for things to stay the same. And I started to realize that my family was very much like that. That, they all wanted stability. Everybody wanted stability. I wanted that too, but I just couldn't find it there. So I fled to LA when I was 23. And LA was my very first home away from home. And the beach, growing up in Chicago, I had Lake Michigan, which wasn't too bad when I was a kid, but it had gotten so disgustingly more gross over the years, and like pollution and like there like oil spills and like, I mean, I would never go to the beach and go in the water there. It was just too disgusting. So when I moved to Los Angeles and I went to the beach, I'd been to beaches before, but I had never even went to LA before I moved there. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I knew I was driven there, and I knew I was meant to be there. But that area that's on fire right now was my home. I didn't live there, but I spent a lot of time there. And I knew a lot of people that lived over there. So my heart is with any of you who are experiencing that right now or have any loved ones who are there. I know that the wars and everything else have been going on, and I don't speak of that very often. I've only spoke about the wars and the politics when Spirit asked me to. but this is different because it's very personal, right? And it's always different when it's personal. I'm not saying that the other things don't mean anything to me. I see them on the news, I pray for them, but I don't keep talking about them because I don't want to feed the negativity or feed the drama or feed, whatever. This is just more like a shout out to my people and to my old life, like it's like a part of my life is burning away, which is, so much of my life is burning away right now, but you know what I'm saying? So that one was really powerful. Then the second reading that came to be was lemongrass, because I wanted to clear the air, and I was like, I just felt like all I can smell was vinegar, because I've been trying to cover up like her accidents, or not her accidents, her her pee purpose, I guess, her peepers, her purpose, which may sound foul and gross to some of you, but I think it's also part of like, I've been thinking about the things that I want to take with me when I move out of here. And I've been debating whether I wanted to take this wool rug and wash it. So it's ironic, right? Like she peed on it because she was like, girl, don't take this fucking rug with you. You know what I mean? Don't even wash it. Don't even, like, it was almost like she was like, my mom, whenever I moved, because I moved so many times, a lot of you know that I've moved like, I don't even know how many times anymore. 30 plus times I think I've moved now, and lived in 5 different states, and in 53 years. And it is the gypsy me, but it's the angel gypsy that, like, I have been brought to different places. So like maybe your world is falling apart, and maybe things are falling apart around you, and you feel like, why is this happening to me? It's happening for you. Pull yourself out of victim mode. That's what I've had to do. And some of you may not feel like you are, but I realized the ancestors were showing me that. Like, I've been going to victim mode a lot more than I care to admit, really. But it's been bad. It's been bad. And then when I'm fine, I just will like be like, I'm so sorry, Bubba. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. And that's when I realize it's like we are all shedding this old skin. And the whole 2025 going into 2026 until we get into the next Chinese New Year is going to be about shedding our skin. But right now, the dragons are begging us to embrace our strength. And our greatest strength is purging the past and purging the excess. That is our greatest strength, is our tears and our emotion and love. Because if you're crying about it, that means that you cared about it. If you're crying about it, that means you care about it. Okay? So allow yourself to cry. I mean, I was literally raised by people all around me that said, stop crying. If you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to attack you. You better be scared. I said to Bubba when I was going to bed last night, I said, so help me God, if you pee in one more place or you try to pee on me when I'm sleeping tonight, I said, I mean it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what my mom used to say. Kellyanne, if you do that one more time, so help me God, I will spank your behind until it is raw. And I mean it. And I knew she meant it. She was going to beat my ass because she'd done it. And that was the whole point. I don't want to hit you, but I want you to know that I'm going to really do this. Nowadays kids, like, parents take their phone away, and I'm like, if only my life was that torturous, but then again, for them, I'm sure there's some, mental, abuse that's an equivalent, right? Because it's different for all of us. But so they really want us to shed our skin. So the owl's going to give us some insight. We are going to be working with the wisdom of the Avalon Oracle cards for, I believe, all the readings. But when they had me go to the lemongrass and the heritage, I was like, oh my gosh, the way they put it together, the lemongrass. So when I went to cover the smell today, I said, I want to steam some, I'm like, do I want to burn something? And they're like, no, let's do some, essential oils. And I was pulled to do lemongrass. And I was like, oh yeah, that's good. Because lemongrass is really good when I'm working with spirit anyway. But then when I started to see what they were doing with the runes, I was like, oh my gosh. And so when I pulled heritage, I'm like, what are the fucking odds? right? And the whole bag of runes, that heritage comes out with lemongrass, and lemongrass is associated with the Native Americans. So if you can get your hands on some lemongrass, work with lemongrass, whether it's essential oil. Like today, I did it in a steam through the house, like just to, purify the air. Or, get real lemongrass and burn it. It's really good. Or eat lemongrass. I actually ate lemongrass soup last night with ginger and cabbage and some heirloom noodles. So you may want to maybe make some homemade soup. And I just, it was really good. I put in some nutritional yeast and garlic and liquid aminos, and it's really, really tasty. I'll probably have some more of that today. So it may be something where you need to speak with the ancestors. So I feel like, because the Wisdom of the Avalon deck is like, even the cover of it, I'll put a picture of it in the community section. But even, and if they have me, I will take pictures of your cards. If they don't, then they don't. So like I said, just keep looking in the community section to see like what's going on. I didn't know we were going to do such an intensive group reading like this, but I guess we are. But it's really just to explain it, right? Because if you look at them, I watched the shorts that went with this, then I watched bits and pieces of the first quarter moon reading and the updates and all that, so that if there was anything that they wanted me to like bring into this one. The only other thing that they really wanted me to touch on was if anybody wants a free reading, a channeled reading with an ancestor or with the ancestors in general. If you need messages from the ancestors, I am offering a free session as long as you're open to me putting it. The exchange of energy would be me putting it public on my channel. I feel like people need that. I feel like it helps other people. I spoke about it in the first quarter moon reading, but Spirit was like shoving Tyler Henry down my throat to the point where I was like, what are you trying to show me? And then that's when I realized that's what they wanted me to do. So I want to do a segment on the magical medium where we will have episodes that will be just channeled messages from crossed over loved ones. Like, maybe you're looking for something, maybe, whatever it is. I had a session one time where this woman, I told her that she was an heir to Thomas Jefferson and that she needed, and I was so serious with her about what was going on and where the papers were and blah, blah, blah. And she got so mad at me and said, called me a phony and a fake. And she's like, I think I'd know if I was related to Thomas Jefferson. And she like threw money down at me like I, was so beneath her, and was like, here, like, I don't even want to give you this, but like, whatever. This is ridiculous. And I'm like, why? Why is that so weird to you? Why is that weird to you? I actually stood up because it's never happened to me before. So it was an in-person reading when I was working at Psychic Sister in Olympia, Washington. And I stood up and I didn't barricade her, but we were having a really good rapport until then. And then I just asked her, I was like, why did you turn so quickly? Like, I'm like, and I tried to explain it to her that, I know that's hard for her to believe, but I said, dude, I'm like, I channeled Prince before. I've channeled David Bowie. Like, I'm like, I can go on and on of all the celebrities that I've channeled. So they're just entities and energies that were famous, but they were just people too at one point, Thomas Jefferson was just a little boy at one point who became Thomas Jefferson. So I'm like, why is it so bizarre for you to think that you could be like bone and blood related to him several generations ago that maybe you don't know about? You don't know that he didn't, have an affair with someone, blah, 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 or like his, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, it could go on and on and on and on. So never, if you're drawn to Egyptian culture, if you're drawn to Asian culture, if you're drawn to British culture, anything, you most likely had a life there. You most likely still have a lineage there. And, just because you live here where you are now, wherever you are now, right, doesn't mean that you didn't live in those other countries. I was deathly afraid of Egypt forever until I did some past life regression work and realized that I was a slave in Egypt. And I was like, well, no wonder why. And I was very much into that Christ consciousness energy. So I knew what it was like to be fearful. But at the same time, I did something. I don't know if I was a singer. I did something where I was poor. I feel like I had a few lives in Egypt, but I feel like in one of them that that I had a gift. So I was either a singer, a storyteller, I played a musical instrument, something where I was constantly invited to the palace. Or I could have been like a teacher, a shaman, a witch, you know what I mean? But whatever I was, you know, whatever I was back then, whatever they would have called me, because I could feel that I came from poverty, but I could feel that I was constantly around wealth, and not because like they would like walk down the street or, you know, come into my establishment, you know what I mean? Like it, no, like I felt like I dined with like royalty, or I knew, in fact, I feel like some of them like loved me so much that like they saved me but like couldn't save my family, you know what I mean? Like things like that. So you never ever know. You guys have heard me talk a lot about my past lives, so there is just so much for us to shed. And that's what we're going to be going through for the next 2 years pretty intensely. So it's time to let bygones be bygones and let go of what you need to let go of. And that's why, you know, the unknown and the owl are trying to show us, right? Like it's the unknown, but we need the wisdom that we've accumulated, thank you, and acquired over all of these, however long. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you come from, whatever, like your story's your own, right? Like, but if you're here right now, you're obviously really powerful. You know this, you know that you have a higher purpose. You know, anybody, if you're new here, welcome. You are welcome to our family. Like we are all star seeds, light workers of some kind, and we know that, and we're doing our job, we're doing our work here. So you know, when I started to see this tying in and the lemongrass, and then I pulled the heritage, I was like, I kind of like, so I saw the feather. So now we're leading to the last reading. So what started this whole thing was when I went to pull my calendar out, because I knew that there was going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. I saw a white feather was stuck in my, and I'd put some feathers in this cubby, but somehow a white feather just got, somehow, right? Somehow a white feather just stuck in my calendar, and it was sticking out when I went to grab it. And I was like, ooh, are we working with the angels today? Like, you know, and so that was like clue number one. But that's actually the segue into our third reading, which is, as you've probably already seen, Destiny White Feather. Oh shit, I'm like, what? So it's funny because I pulled an owl feather. I have tons of owl stuff, but pulled an owl. It was the owl feather that came to me. But here we are with a white feather, because I was like, do you want me to use feather? They're like, no, specifically white feather. And I'm like, yeah, because especially for most of you know that if you ever see a white feather, you know, that's a sign from the angels. Michael, the movie Michael, that older movie with John Travolta where he plays Archangel Michael, that is free on YouTube right now. There are so many movies that are free. The Craft is free on YouTube. There's so many movies that are free on YouTube in January right now. It's unbelievable. Like I said, if you can, pay, you know, even if it's just for the month, pay the $12 and go commercial free and go inward, you know, because you get it for the month you join. So it's the 11th right now, and that'll take us over into, you know, the new year of the dragon, or excuse me, from the year of the dragon to the year of the snake, which just made me realize that we only have, let me see, 14, 15, 16, 17. We only have a 17. Oh, which is the number 8. We only have 17 more days with the dragons. Oh, wow. So they want us to really utilize this energy. Now, if you watch this way past that, it's okay. They're just saying to use their energy, to work with the dragon energy. You may align with the dragons. You may have been a dragon in another life, you know, whatever, however it, you know, feels for you. It's different for everybody. But do you see how these all tied in? I mean, it was just so magical. And I just was feeling the decks like they were calling to me from the cabinet. I was like, man, I just feel like we're meant to use a deck today. So those are our readings. Destiny and the White Feather, I feel like are going to be so interesting, because a lot of us have control issues, and it's not a negative. A lot of us have used control to navigate our experience on earth because we're such sensitive beings. For myself, you know, I got sick. I got car sick. I got double car sick if somebody got in the car with really cheap, you know, perfume. Growing up as a kid, you know, in the 60s and the 70s, it was like, you know, Baby Love's Baby Soft and Shalimar and all that. And all that shit was fucking chemicals. They were just pure chemicals. You know, Chanel No. 5 and like, you know, all these things. And I just remember like having to like pull over the car because I had to puke, or we had to puke bags for me because, or my, parents would smoke in the car, just like all, I was just so, my childhood felt like torture in a lot of ways. And it wasn't until I started smoking that I couldn't smell the smoke as bad. But boy, when I stopped smoking cigarettes, oh my gosh, I can smell it on a level that was. So as I got older, I realized that I could control my environment, especially when I moved out on my own when I was 19. I was like, I can control what comes in and out of my house. I can control, who I want here, who I don't want here. And I started to ease up the tension a little bit, because growing up with my parents and my family, I was always rebelling because of, this or that. You can't do this. Or it was like practice, it was like do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. And so once I started to get to a point where I didn't give a shit, I was like, well, you know what? You're doing it, so I'm going to do it. And became even more, abstinent. Is that no, abstinent, not abstinent. Obstinate was that word, where you're just like, just being a brat, just to be a brat. So, I know that, by the way, is it just me or have I said the word so in this like a zillion times? A zillion. I guess a zillion's a new number. A zillion times. A zillion. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, with all that being said, control is the one thing that we really need to shed moving forward. That's why they've been pushing for us to live in the moment, go with the flow, live in the moment, go with the flow. But at the same time, don't be a doormat. One of the last times that I saw Alder, it was not a pleasant time. And that's when I realized we weren't even fighting. He didn't say much of anything. I just was like crying, and I don't even know if I was yelling so much as I was just so passionate about like how upset I was, and that I was just done with like what was going on between us. And so I was like, yeah, I'm very happy to not see him. I was like, I hope I never see him again. Like I told one of my sisters, I was just like, I wish I never see him again. Like that thing where you're just like, and then I was just like, be careful what you wish for, So it's like, I take it back. I was like, no, I'm just angry right now and I'm upset and, I need to work through this. So maybe you're going through something really hard too. And Spirit is just saying, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. You just need to work through it. And it's not pleasant, right? But when we're working through the hardest shit, and it's like we're just every day is like, I remember waking up for work and starting to cry. I remember my alarm going off and starting to cry. And when I have really rough days in this house, I have to remind myself that even though it's rough, even though it's not fun, even though blah, 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 and give you a gazillion reasons why this is horrible. And I just want to be able to jump in the shower when I want to, and just turn on the water when I want to, and just have as much electricity as I want to. And you know what I mean? Like whenever I like have those moments, I try to just close my eyes and remember that everything and every moment and every breath and every day is a gift, and how we choose to deal with it is how we choose to deal with it. So I've been running around here going, I love my house, I love my life, and I meant it, and I meant every word. Everything was great. But when she was on the decline again and we were going through the bad patch, I was so angry. And then I realized it's because I need to get that out. Because even though I'm mostly, you're out of the woods, you're out of the, the part where like Dorothy and the gang, get out of the wicked woods into Oz, and the Yellow Brick Road starts. They're like, oh, thank God, we've reached it, we've made it, it's utopia. Right now we realize, seeing Wicked, there ain't no fucking utopia. We're seeing how Oz even came to be, and how the Wicked Witch became to be. Lately I've been like, just words from No One Mourns the Wicked have been like playing in my head over and over. I don't know the song verbatim, but just like, it just keeps coming to my orbit, and it just makes me cry, because it's true. No one mourns the wicked, right? Because like nobody knows how that person became that way. Not every person starts out that way. That's why I have forgiven so many people in my life over and over and over, because not only because I've seen the good in them, but because I can see who they were. Like I see Alder as a child, I see his precious heart. I see his love. I see his kindness, but I also see people who abused him, people who didn't love him properly, people who didn't hug him, people who didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I see all of those things. Just like I look at little me and I see all of the abuse and the torture and the horrible things. But now I realize, like, I mourn for her, and I mourn her innocence. I mourn his innocence. But now we are adults. And now this is how, moving forward, how we see the world, how we look at the world is our choice right now. You know, there are many who are looking at this world that it is burning up in flames, and people are killing themselves, and things are, you know, people are murdering their children. I mean, you know, and also we don't know how much of it is real, how much of it is fake, because of the AI, because of the, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much that is happening. In my personal experience, just so you know, these that they're saying are drones. They're not drones, you guys. Not all of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're telling the humans that they're drones because they're not going to say those are alien ships that are up here looking out for us. That's Arcturians, those are Syrians, those, you know what I mean? I don't know who's up there. I can feel, I mean, because I'm so connected to them, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure, but there is a ship that has been above me for a long time. The stars above me have, like, totally changed. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, everything has changed. They just don't want the masses to know, one, because there could be a really scary influx of people like getting scared and like killing themselves, killing each other, looting, hoarding, acting, you know, running amok, right? And that 3D ego, mine, I'm gonna lose my things, you know what I mean? Instead of, like, you know, my favorite responses to the celebrities are, you know, you can like him or hate him, you know, but one of my favorite responses was Mel Gibson. And he's like, my family are out. He's like, hell, even my chickens are okay. He's like, so my fucking house is gone. So my memorabilia is gone. He's like, so what? They're just things. And I was like, he's right. He's absolutely right. He even said, like, he goes, he literally had things that were, like, irreplaceable. Things, like, from his movie sets or things from, you know what I mean, from his family and whatever. He's like, but they're just things. He's like, my family is okay. My animals are okay. That's it. At the end of the day. So when we can detach from all of those things, because I've also been in, when I was younger, I was in spend. I want to look the best. I want to be the best. I want to have the best clothes. I want to, you know what I mean? Like, hey, no, I got it, you guys. When I didn't really have it, I'd come home from LA and I would put, like, you know, hundreds of dollars on my credit card, you know, to take my family out for dinner. And, you know, I'd have people in my family be like, we're not trying to be assholes, but, like, we have more money than you. Like, let us pay. And I'm like, no, I want to do it. I don't come out here very often. You know, just let me do it. Just let me do it. But that was my way of, like, feeling somewhat like I was their equal or I was in control. You know what I mean? So, and all it did was put me in a grave amount of debt, which I spoke about in one of the other readings, right? So it's like, when I look at my life from inception to now and just everything that has happened for me, the only way I can ever say it happened to me is if I'm a victim. But somehow, somewhere, in some place in the universe, I had it coming. She had it coming. She had it coming. Did you ever see Chicago, the musical? Right? So, you know, and it's like, you know, they're like, he had it coming. He had it coming. The part of the song is, if you'd had seen it, you would have believed it. Like, that he had it coming. Like, you know, he was horrible. He did this. He did that. He cheated on her, blah, blah, blah. So she deserved to shoot him. No, she didn't really deserve to shoot him, but, you know, you can rationalize anything and to make yourself feel better, you can rationalize anything. So in this next year, I feel like you know, this is the first true pick a reading for the year as far as I'm concerned. So even though we did, like, a little bit of a pick a reading in the, you know, the tribe reading, I felt like those were more messages. And like I said, the pictures will be in the community section, but this, I feel like, is our first like real like messages to like help guide us while we're on this path. And of course they're going to give us more, you know, we're going to do more. I'm sure they're going to have me shoot something on the full moon in Cancer, but I'm sure there'll probably be disclaimers because I can't imagine my beautiful tender heart is not going to fall apart. um yeah. I mean, even that just made me think of Glinda when she's like, oh, my tender heart, you know, when she's talking about um popular, right? Like, because that's how you have to be popular. That's how she was told. You have to have the best things. You have to be blah, blah, blah. Then she meets this beautiful, fractured being that, for every intent and purpose, should hate everybody and hate life, but is like taken her challenges. I mean, seriously, if Wicked is not the metaphor for all of us right now, I don't know what is. And if you haven't seen Wicked yet, please run out and watch it, or somehow get it and watch it. And watch it by yourself or watch it with people who will love it as much as you, because honestly, it's just I even though I was in the theater, I just tried so hard to just pretend like I was the only one there. Like, I can't wait for it to come out where I can watch it just by myself again and like really be in it, because I got so much from it. I was bawling my eyes out. I like totally aligned with Alpha Bus so much throughout it. It was unbelievable. But I totally understood, you know, like that feeling of wanting to feel loved and accepted by everybody. You know, it's a natural need to want to be around others. Yes, we are born alone, and you know, a lot of us die alone. Or not all of us are born alone. Some of us are born with a twin. But technically, we're not really born alone, because when we're born, there's the doctor, there's our mother, there, you know what I mean? So we're never really born alone. But it's times like this that we could really be alone. Even though our spirit guides are there and all of our people are there to watch us, it's like, when are we really alone, though? When we're really alone and with our thoughts and with spirit at that peaceful place, that is our destiny. And that's what we're meant to find here on earth, is peace and harmony on earth. So we're in the transition, right? We're in the Tower card moment. I've been seeing that in so many readings everywhere, and it's so true. We are so in the Tower card moment, and the light workers are the Fool, and we're trying to like run between all these worlds, and it's exhausting. So take time for yourself, pull away from things. If you like to watch readings or you like to go online, don't do it every day. Today, I dropped my phone in water, and I knew, after I saw, like, when I did it, I realized, like, I saw it happening before, like, and I tried to prevent, or I thought I was going the best way to prevent it, and I was like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. When it fell in, I was like, oh my god, and I pulled my phone out so fast, and my heart was like going 100 miles an hour, because I was just like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? And I put my phone automatically like on my heater. I have an oil heater. Thank God. If we didn't have electricity, I would have never been able to do that. So I'm mostly off grid, except for I have an extension cord, but the extension cord can only hold so much. But I have like one of those oil heaters, and it had been on. You know, I keep it on pretty much, even if it's on low, I keep it on all the time. And I just, like, my first instinct was just to put my phone on the heater and like with it down, you know, like with the charger part down, and I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, that was so stupid. I can't believe it. And I mean, it was totally submerged, but it was like submerged and I grabbed it. So it's like, it was like in and out, and I have a case on my phone, but still my phone just went into like, we are shutting down, blah, 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 because of the moisture in the charger. I'm like, no, I'm like, I have no rice. I'm like, I'm like trying to think of what I have in the house. I was like, no, 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 no. But I just held it like on the, like the metal part of the heater, and I just held it and held it and held it there, and I was kind of shaky, and the spirit was like, calm down, calm down, calm down, because I was like, how would I get a hold of anybody? I'm like, I don't have a landline, I don't, you know. And then I heard, first of all, I know both of my neighbors now. Actually, 4 of my neighbors have introduced themselves to me, so I could literally walk to any of my neighbors and ask to use their phone, and they would let me. I could jump on the bus. I could, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things I could do. So it was like, so then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm fine. Because then I was like, I don't know if I know Alder's number. I'm like, I don't know if I know his email address. And then I was like, of course. I'm like, his number is, you know, he always has an ad up on Craigslist. And I was just like, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden it was like every fear of my control started to fade away. And I realized that's what they were trying to say, was like, We do have your back. Oh, Ra's coming out even brighter right now because it's been like up and down. I don't know if you've noticed how the screen has gone brighter and darker. Now it's like really bright. Oh, look at that. Oh, if you've had your eyes closed, you should look at the screen right now because it's so bright and pretty, the colors. Hi, Ra. Oh, thank you. So, it's like Spirit illuminated the situation and showed me like, calm down, no fear, no fear, no fear. But we've been trained and triggered to go to instant gratification, to like a crying baby. It's like sometimes a baby, they're like, why would you let your baby cry? That's horrific. That's horrible. That's horrible. They're like, no, because like at some point it's like they need to, now this is different for everybody, okay? So I am not judging your parenting or anybody. I haven't been a parent, okay? I mean, I've lost a child, but I have not been a parent, and I have had friends who have breastfed up until their children were like 3 years old. And I remember one of my old friends. I mean, looking back on it now, I feel like such a fucking asshole. But and please forgive me, old friend. But I just remember I had a really, really difficult time being around them when they were breastfeeding, and she was like, why is this so weird for you? And I said, because I have watched so many of my friends breastfeed, but none of my friends were breastfeeding when their children were talking to them at the same time. I'd never seen that before. So I was just like, isn't it just for, I'm like, he's on, like, he can talk to you. He's almost 3. He's on hard food. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is the same little boy that was sitting next to me while we were talking and playing games. And so I just, and I didn't even understand when he was saying, milky, mommy, milky. I thought he was saying, I want milk. Like, can I have milk? And I was like, oh, I'm like, how cute. I'm like, that's the cutest thing. Is that what he calls it? And she's like, no, that's what he calls my, and I was like, what? And then she's like, I'm still breastfeeding, and I was like, oh, I was like, and so she actually asked me if it would bother me. And I was like, no. I'm like, dude, I mean, we've been best friends for like how many years? I'm like, no, it's okay, But then when it was like actually happening, I was so uncomfortable that like I made her uncomfortable. And then like we ended up getting in a fight about it when I was visiting her because she was just like, well, you made it so obvious. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I said, I think you're too attached. I think you need to let it go. Like, and she goes, well, he finds comfort. I go, well, what if he's 14 and he still wants to do it? And she was like, and she kind of looked at me and I go, I'm just saying he's not a baby anymore. He's a toddler. And so I'm like, I'm just saying I don't understand, which even right now, I don't understand. But I didn't have that experience. So, it's, if you had that and you loved it, I'm very happy for you. You know what I mean? And I still, like, I have no judgment around it. If I saw it now, I probably would just, be like, in whatever, and I would probably leave. And again, no judgment. It just feels like a very private moment. And I didn't feel like I should be a part of it because I felt like she kept having to stop having her moment with him to talk to me, if that makes sense. That's why I was uncomfortable, really, because I was trying to have a conversation with her about something with me. And she's like, I can still talk and do this at the same time. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable having this conversation while he is like having such a moment with you. You know what I mean? And so it was just a very interesting thing. So even to this day, that is her thing, whatever, but maybe it was a form of control. I don't know. Because also, other people around her had expressed that they didn't like it either, or that they felt like it was unnatural and that she was having a hard time, detaching because she was never going to have another child. She had decided she wanted one and she was older. And so, their spouse was like, maybe it's, because she's never going to be a parent again. He's like, but I feel like he doesn't need it. And all she needs to do is just start telling him no, and he'll just stop. So it was just interesting. It was like, I felt like, because everybody around her felt like, but again, that was her path. And I don't mean, I'm never going to say who it is or whatever, but I've had many friends over many lifetimes and many places. So, but it was just interesting. So I feel like that's what a lot of this is that they're trying to show us, like, between, the owl and, the unknown, and what was our second one? Heritage and lemongrass, and the white feather and destiny. They're trying to show us like what our own each individual path is. You know, for some, who knows, maybe someday she will look back on that and be like, yeah, I guess I probably could have weaned you a little bit earlier or something, or maybe they'll have a moment where he'll be like, no, Mom, I loved those moments. I'm glad that we did that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always going to be personal. And maybe she stood her ground and we were all the fucking assholes, fucking judging her. And she's like, shut up, bitches. Like, this is my child. This is me. And this is what I believe they need. Don't tell me what to do. Right? And back then, I was an asshole and very much know-it-all. So I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad we had that conversation because obviously we were supposed to, and only because it had been brought through with other people that I felt like, I'm not the only one that sees that. So we just are looking out for you, kind of thing. And also, sometimes we need people when we're doing something that is harming ourselves. I've been through things where I was drinking too much and my friends were like, you're drinking too much. You're smoking too many cigarettes. We're afraid you're going to die. Like, are you going to live your life like this? And I had to change and I had to quit drinking. And the only thing that got me to quit drinking was my pancreatitis. And then I learned a different form of control over myself and over my diet if I wanted to live. My discipline changed. And then once I, quote unquote, saved myself, then I realized that it wasn't a quick fix. And now here I am all these years later, still dealing with certain addictions and working through them because I thought I had a control. I thought I had a handle on them. So I'm saying this all back to you because maybe this is what you're going through as well. So with that being said, Spirit, is there anything else for the group reading before we go into the individual readings? Nope, that's it. Anything else that'll come back around or is meant to be said will probably go back in. Oh, when I looked up, it was 1:15:55. So that's really interesting, right? So it was like 11:555, or it could even be 11. If you look in my videos there, you'll see that I posted some old readings. Spirit's been having me post a lot of old readings recently. I think it's for us to rehash some things that we need to go through because a lot of you have commented, you're like, I remember this reading, but oh my gosh, it's so much different now, right? Because we're different. And sometimes it's the same medicine, but in a different context. So I feel like for some of you, you're meant to go look at the 11:55 reading. I know everybody, of course, wanted the 11:11 reading. Who doesn't want that one? But it was angel numbers 11:11, 11:12, 11:13, 11, or 11, 11, 11, 11:22, 11:33, 11:44, and 11:55. So if you've been seeing these numbers, you may want to go back and check out those angel numbers. But definitely for our group, I feel like maybe there's some pearls in the 11 angel number 11:55. 1155. So that may be something you want to go back and check. If they have me put a link for it, I will. If not, it's for you to like seek out on your own. That's just a little breadcrumb for you. And also 15, 16, 7. Oh, it's also number 17, which I know has been a big number for so many of you. And when you add it together, it's the number 8, and 8 is the number of the dragon. 2024 was the year, mostly of the year of the dragon. It started in 2024, which is an 8 year. And now we are in a 9 year. So as we are going to be crossing over lunar years from the dragon to the snake, they're just saying, be very mindful, be very careful over these next, when I looked up, it was 117, these next 17 days. So obviously you guys know I'm a little archaic. So most likely they're not going to have me post this until either tomorrow, Sunday, or Monday. Let me see. Is this our full moon in Cancer reading? Because they told me they want me to do readings on okay, no. All right. So this doesn't count as that. Does this count as our full moon in Cancer reading? Okay. So most likely this will be posted before the full moon in Cancer. And again, they're timeless. But for the next, today when I'm doing this, it's real time, 17 days in this real time energy. You're here with me anyway. I say this all the time. I'm like, it's like, I feel you guys here. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm in the future. You know what I mean? When you watch this, I've already done it, but like, you've been here with me in the past. Does that make sense? But there's going to be, over these days, please pay attention to these days. There's going to be a lot of illumination for your personal life and on the planet, okay? There's going to be a lot of illumination. I keep hearing that word over and over and over. Like, there's just going to be light shed on a lot of things. Maybe things you didn't want to look at. Maybe things you didn't want to deal with. You know what I mean? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But also, light on the good things. Put the light on the good things. Spend time with the things that make you happy. Spend time away from the people that don't make you happy. The irony is that whenever Alder and I have these bad times together, they don't start out that way. The last time we were together, when it started out, I was like, hey, hi, Alder. I'm like, how have you been? I'm like, how's work today? When we ended, it was like, bye, bye. You know what I'm saying? And it was that way because his shadow and my shadow do not want, they want to fuck each other up. They want to spar. They want to tear the other one down. But our light when they're together are like this loving, we're like two peas in a pod. You know what I mean? Like we're from the same whatever, but right now it's like cuz when it started I was in light. By the time we were done, I was crying, I was upset because his shadow ripped me apart and made me feel stressed, made me feel unwanted, made me feel unloved, made like I felt like if he could push me out of the car while it was moving. Like that's how dark it was. I did a video about it, but it was so ugly that I deleted it because it was like I was playing the victim myself, you know what I mean? But what I realized was is he's been saying it all along that we need to spend time apart and not see each other. But I was like, well, how do we do that though? I'm like, how do we do that when I constantly have to, do this, go do that, blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, I'm like, would you be willing to go to the laundromat for blah, blah? Because I'm like right now I have one solitary out of like, I don't even know how many. I have one clean little hand towel left. Like if she has an accident, that's it. That's it. That's it. I don't have any more. You know what I mean? If something happens, that's it. I've like a little cap full of vinegar. So I was like, okay, cool. As long as you're willing to like, until I get out of this situation, so I'm like, he's right. We need to not see each other. So maybe you need to not be around certain people, places, or things right now. And I'm getting that really strongly from spirit. Okay. Like, I don't care if you have to ask a friend to do you a favor. Like, I reached out to you guys because I was like, you know what? Shit's got to get paid. We need money. you know, I haven't done that in a long time where I like messaged people and was just like, whatever you can do and put it out on my readings and stuff. Like, I don't do that. I try very hard not to do that. Alder and I do very well when we're working, but when we're both not working and we're both dealing with things, like when he's in shadow and he's not working, and I'm here in a hospice taking care of her. I'm working, but like, you know what I mean? But everything showed up exactly when it needed to. Every single solitary thing, and it will continue to do so. And that's what Spirit wants us to know, is that things are going to show up for us. But if things aren't going the way you want them to, it's because you're moving in the wrong direction. So right now, for all intents and purposes, it doesn't matter that I'm still in love with him. It doesn't matter if I think he's still in love with me. We have to be completely broken up. We have to be completely out of each other's orbit. Like because I said to him when it was getting so ugly the other day, I literally like pleaded with him and said, it doesn't have to be like this. I was like, why? Like, I'm like, why can't you speak love to me? I'm like, you loved me once. Like I'm like, do you hear how mean you are to me? Like, it was just so, that's why you're seeing things that I've been putting out. I'm like, we don't have to put up with that. And I'm sure later there was probably some part of him that was like remorseful and was like, fuck, but it's because his shadow is like leading right now. And there's nothing I can do or say that is going to solve that, cure that, fix that. Do you know what I'm saying? He has to go through what he needs to go through. And so when my light comes in so bright, his shadow is like, fuck you. And it will do everything in its power to keep Alder there. So if that means to like make me want to hate him and push him away, so be it. But I'm saying, and Spirit is saying to us, we shouldn't have to get to a point that it's so ugly that we are so ugly to each other. So let go of control. Let people hate you. Let people not like you. Be okay with who you are. Do you know today the sticker that we were pulled to use from Cat in the Hat was the orange. So work on your sacral chakra. Also, one of the other things I saw was the yellow. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to work with all of the medicine. Maybe you don't have to look at every single reading, but work with all the medicine. The unknown, the owl, the heritage, your ancestors, your blood and bone, working through that old stuff, past life stuff. Lemongrass, destiny, and the angels, because the white feather represents the angels. So if you're trying to look for readings for your destiny, or like right when we're in the uncomfortable, that's when we reach out to like something else, right? Because we're like, oh, what's the future hold? What's going to happen? Because, oh, I can just get through this if I know that's going to happen. But you're not going to get to that destiny if you don't go through this stuff. You need to go through the unknown. You need to work with the inner wisdom, right? Like work with the owl spirit medicine, work with your ancestor medicine, work with lemongrass in whatever way, whether it's taking it in and eating it, whether it's just burning it, like whatever. There's like all these different, ways of working with lemongrass. And then, then and only then, right, can we put our new like words into motion on the new moon. And if you're watching this past the time that it's in, that's why I always put the real time. I want you guys to see the real time. Recently I posted a shorts that had the real time on it because I felt like somebody needed to see that date, like July 30th 2024. I'm like, that meant something to somebody, and maybe it's a birthday, maybe it was a significant day, maybe it was something that was really good, maybe it was something that wasn't so good, whatever it is. But it's like they're there for a reason. So work with the angels and spirit and meditation when you want to start focusing on your future, on your destiny. But know that you cannot move forward without releasing your past. They don't go together. And as they say, if you're feeling depressed, it's because you're living in the past of something that didn't happen or did happen and you feel like you want to change it, or you're having anxiety, which is the future, and that's the unknown, and you're having anxiety about it because you don't know how to deal with it, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know. And so spirit's like, yeah, but you know what I mean, like that's the whole joy of being human, is the journey, not the destination. Because once you get to that thing that you want, don't you usually want something new after that, right? Like you may be like, I want this house, and then you get the house and you love the house and everything's great. But then maybe something changes and you're like, I love this house, but I don't really like living here. Maybe, and then there'll be a new house and a new place, right? So life and human is all about change and ever changing. And when they're saying, make America great again, that's ridiculous. It's always, it's like the whole point is that we're trying to move into the future. If you're trying to go to the past, there's nothing there. All you're going to find is a lot of nothing, right? And what's in the past? Wars, strife, pain, suffering. We're looking towards the future. We're trying to build the new earth, right? So our destiny is the new earth, and the angels are saying that. Also, I can't wait to tell you guys, each one of these has like cool little things in the readings too. So, all right, this one really long for the group reading, but there are no regrets. So I am going to put this on pause, and then I am going to come back and we are going to work on the individual readings. And if for some reason you don't want to look at the individual look at the individual readings, that's okay too. So take really good care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next time at the next reading. And if you would like to participate in those readings, reach out to me and let me know. If you know me personally and have my number, you can reach out to me. If not, you can leave a comment below with your email address or an email address that you feel comfortable leaving, and I will email you. Or you can email me, which is magicalmedium@gmail.com. And it's when you go click on the top where it says Witches and Healers and Deep Down Believers, when you click on that, that'll bring you to all of my information. So it's got my information if you'd like to donate anything from my Amazon wish list, which has candles and tarot cards and oracle cards. I'm thinking about putting more things on there because I was like, I know sometimes you guys, I love that you send me money, but I know some of you have Amazon accounts, and if you wanted to, or I was thinking actually, if Spirit calls me to, is I'm going to put a list on my Amazon wish list of things that I might need, like for the house, or maybe you're somebody who's into essential oils and you're like, hey, or you make tinctures, or whatever. If it's something like that and you want to do an exchange of energy, you can do that too. Any way you want to donate or exchange of energy, feel free to do that. You can do that through my Amazon list. You can do that through my Venmo, my PayPal. And for those of you who would like to get a free reading and have it recorded and put on my channel, it's all like this. It's anonymity. You can even use a different name, and we can use a different name for you, however you want to do it. We can do no names. However you want to do it, we can do it, but it's there for an educational purpose for other people, and people really do like watching other people's readings. We just like it. There's something about it. I always get something when I read other people's readings too, or watch other people's readings. So if you would like to do it, and even if you've been with me forever, it's okay. It's still, I mean, of course people are like, well, I still would give you money. I'm like, if you want to, that's fine. You can always donate and contribute. We love that. Thank you. Thank you. It pays our bills. But it is not required, and I'm not anticipating it, okay? I'm dead serious about that, all right? So I look forward to seeing you at your readings if you're staying here for the readings. And for those of you who are leaving, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for being here. And I will see you next time. I love you. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome, 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 reading one. So I don't normally start readings like this, but if you are somewhere where you can stretch, obviously if you're driving or you're at work or something and it's not feasible, I understand. But if you're somewhere where you can stretch, because this is in a podcast, format, I kept hearing podcast pick a card. I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they're out there. And they're like, no, that's what we want you to do. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, cool. And I do feel like you get more from these readings when you're just like closing your eyes and like in it with spirit and just like listening to the stories and listening to the transmissions instead of, like looking at something else. And, sometimes some people like to listen to podcasts. I know I listen to readings and podcasts when I'm cleaning, making food. I do the same thing. But sometimes I feel like I do get more out of it if I just like sit there and shut my eyes and listen to it. But wherever you are, no judgment. But I'm just saying, if you are somewhere where you can stretch, I started stretching before this, because I did the group reading and it was like almost an hour and a half. And I thought it was going to be like maybe 10, 20 minutes tops. Every time I think it's going to be a short one, it ends up being a long one. It's so funny. But there's a lot of good pearls in there. So if you didn't watch it, you may want to go back and watch it. I'm sure that they'll probably be referencing things from that in it. Because when we actually went through each reading in the group reading, like about what they were about and why and that kind of thing. So there's more extensive information in there if you are so inclined. But then I took a break and I started stretching. The sun's out. It's beautiful. Where I live, it's normally very rainy and cold this time of year, but the sun is out and it's like, 40s. It's really nice. So I started stretching and they said, just hit start. And I was like, why? And they're like, because they need to stretch too. So this is a message for some of you. And when I opened my eyes, I just saw 131, whatever it was, but I saw 31, which is 13 backwards. 31 might mean something to you in different ways, but also the full moon in Cancer is on the 13th. I'm going to get this reading out before then, but whenever you watch this, it's timeless, of course. But we've been, in the group reading, we got this too, that we really need to just be alone and be like with our thoughts during this full moon. This is a very heavily emotionally charged full moon. Cancer is a beautiful, beautiful energy. They have the most sensitive, beautiful hearts. I love Cancers, but they're also very sensitive. So, this is the time where it's like you say something and someone takes it the wrong way, and you know what I mean? And then the full moon amplified energy, it could just get really like blown out of proportion. So just really take some time to yourself as much as possible. I really highly suggest that. And even when you're watching this, the message is still the same. If that connects with you and you're like, yeah, I probably could take some time to myself, then do that. Okay. So keep stretching. If it feels good, you know what I mean? If it feels good, if it doesn't, you don't have to. It's just, I just got the vibe, like, get on the floor, stretch your back, stretch your legs, like go really slow though, don't overdo it, go slow. That's the thing I'm getting too from you, is to get slow, go slow. So as we said in the readings, you chose this because of it. We are working with the owl spirit medicine and we pulled the rune of unknown. So since we are in the unknown energy, I really am feeling for you guys, like before this even started, I was feeling a lot of different things. So you know what, we're using the Wisdom of the Avalon deck, and I'm just getting this vibe to like just jump right in. So let me just get in here right away. I also am getting this feeling like I need to see the picture. And sometimes when I'm doing the pick readings, I like it on camera. I like it, but when it's like this, I just feel more connected to you guys, if that makes any sense. And I have recently fallen in love with this really awesome, I'll put a link in the description box. Always follow the links and look in the community section. I'm putting a lot of cool things in the community section for these readings as well. And look in the description box for links to other readings, things that were affiliated with this reading, or just, I mean, some of them were literally for readings that were connected to this, because this is almost, this pick of readings, like the culmination of shorts that I was pulled to do with one of our tribe members, made these beautiful homemade runes. And so I did a reading in the shorts. There'll be a link for that. And then that went to a group reading and just like an update, and Happy New Year kind of thing on the new moon. I'll put a link for that. And then that, hold on. Good job, buddy. And then that's Bubba. I'm like, yay, she made the pee pad. I'm sorry, but when you're going with somebody who's like, she's basically in hospice, it's like anytime they make it to the bathroom is a success. So yay, Bubba. She's doing her best. She's doing her best. But yeah, so all of these readings, kind of came together, and I feel like they're in this. And for those of you, sorry if you're new here, and if you're grossed out, sorry, but sorry, not sorry kind of thing, because Bubba is one of us. She's one of our tribe members. She's my familiar. She's my best friend, and she is in her crone, and she's in hospice right now. So, you're going to hear me talking about her a lot until she crosses over. And, I will never apologize for that, but I'm just saying, like, if you hear me talking about my familiar or talking about, my friend, that's who I'm talking about, Bubba the Great. She has her own channel. I have a link on my channel if you want to go check her out. She's kind of she's like, I'm a shell of my former self. Yeah, she is, but that's okay. I had a moment the other day where I was like, I just broke down, like, hysterical, like, and something you can never understand, like, well, maybe you understand, but I'm saying, like, there's something I didn't really even understand, is what I was really trying to say, is that it dawned on me that she was never going to look like that again. Like, not in this lifetime. Like, she'll never look like that again. And I just, I just felt gutted for her, but also for me, because she's just, she's probably one of the most beautiful animals I've ever seen, and I always felt privileged to, like, that she wanted to live with me. I'm like this tuxedo Maine Coon with, yellow green eyes. I'm like, she's just this magical creature. But she's been, interesting that she's coming up in this reading, because I've literally said this so many times throughout the years. If you've been with me, but she does this thing sometimes with her face and her ears, and I swear I can hear her go, woohoo, woohoo. And I'm like, was absolutely an owl in another life. So it doesn't surprise me that she came up in this reading. But yeah, right. So, like, now all of a sudden I'm in this situation with my familiar, and my marriage is ending. Like, my mom just passed a few months ago, or in August of last year, so more than a few months now. But, so much change, so much disruption in my life, things that, you realize that you cannot hold on to things. And I feel like this is maybe something you're struggling with too, is the unknown and not knowing. And I think that's why I cried so much, is that I don't now, like, every day she's getting more to the other side. And as that happens, and she has good days and bad days. Some days she's really strong and she's like fine, and not fine, but like she's much better. And I'm like, oh, she's getting better, and then, that's what hospice is. And it's like, then they have a bad day. And so my heart goes out to any of you who are going through that, or have been going through that, or ever will go through that. It is very difficult. It's a very challenging thing to do, to watch somebody you love so much literally deteriorate before your eyes. Sometimes people are like, I don't know which worse is, watching someone, deteriorate, or like just never seeing them again and like they died instantly. I have to say, I would prefer the latter. I mean, I've screamed to spirit the other day. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what the soul contract is, hers, mine, whatever. I'm like, I am putting her down. I'm like, because they said to let her go peacefully in her sleep. She will. And to believe that she can, and she will. And I was just like, no. I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to go put her down, whether you guys like it or not, and it is my free will to do that. But I just get this vibe where they're like, it's not time, it's not time, it's not time. So just like, don't push her. Like, so they had me like look at her like she's an actual person, right? Like, because she's a being, she's a sentient being. So they're like, don't look at her like a cat that's been with you for 13 years. Look at her as like, what if she was an elderly woman? Because she's in her 80s, technically in human years. They're like, so how would you treat a hospice patient, an elderly woman? You know, she's female. So like, if she were, they're like, would you treat her any differently if she were an elderly woman in hospice who could barely get up and could barely, you know, and she was soiling herself and you had to keep changing her and blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, I started crying. I felt like a fucking monster. I was like, I guess I thought of it that way, but it was easier for my ego and my third dimensional mine. She's just, I can't sleep. And why should I have to put up with this? I should, blah, blah, blah. And those are things that were coming out of my mouth. Not like, oh my God, you've been in service to me. Let me be in service to you. You know what I mean? Like, it was like all of a sudden I had just turned it around into such an ugly thing. And I realized that it was old. It was old programming. It was stuff that I had to let go. And so I feel like we spoke about this in the group reading as well. I feel like this is the time that you really need to let go. And I'm so sorry because I am sorry for this for you, because I feel like for some of you, I'm bringing you closer. I feel like for some of you, the transition has been so, I feel like you're going through, ooh, look at that, like the light's changing too. I feel like you're going through like that. I don't know if you can see the screen. I always tell people to look at it with your eyes closed, but I feel like there's like that, like you're like, it's dark and then it's light and then it's dark and then it's light. And I'm getting this vibe from spirit that it's the instability that's making you feel so crazy. And it's, you know, it's okay not to be okay. You know that saying, it's okay not to be okay. Because how can you be okay when there's so much change and chaos happening? You know, it's like when there's so much happening all around us. When I looked down, it was 11 seconds. It was one, whatever, but it was 11 seconds. It was like the angels. And the angels are saying that that's the whole point, though. We're all being tested right now. This is, if you grew up with the Bible, then you understand this. And if you don't, maybe research it so you can get the context. But this is Revelations. It's just when we were growing up and in church and, you know, in the Bible, it's like, it's supposed to be this fire and brimstone. Well, it is. I mean, I totally broke down crying in the group reading, talking about the LA fires, because I lived there for like almost 10 years. And it was my first home away from home when I moved there when I was 23 from Chicago. And, you know, when you look around the world right now, it's like everything is in fucking chaos. And you know what I mean? Oh, look, it went back to light again. Everything is in chaos for a reason, because everything has to get worse before it gets better. And it will get better. And I spoke of this and that as well. Those aren't just drones. They're telling everybody that they're drones because they're like, oh, they're drones and they're for safety and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. Drink some water. I feel like some of you are dehydrated. Drink some water. And I even heard, stop what you're doing and drink some water. I'm also seeing this vision of like hands with like a heart in the hands. So I don't know if that visual means anything for you guys. That could be just for one person. I even saw like Taylor Swift doing the little finger, like the hands with the fingers and the heart, you know. But I specifically saw like a heart like being held by hands. And I feel like that the hands are like the angels, like, or like the hands of God, and like the heart is there. So for those of us who were raised religious and have gone more spiritual, you know, we remember that it's like, you know, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world, talking about God in his hands. You know, so believe that. Believe that. And believe that now more than ever. That we are looked after. And when we're having a really horrible day or horrible time, or we feel like something is happening to us and not for us, if we're getting rerouted, if we're getting, you know what I mean? It's like anytime I'm in a situation with a bunch of people and something happens and like people are like, oh man, I remember that in a past situation, I'd be like, yeah, that's bullshit. We should like raise some hell about this. And then I'd notice how people would be like, yeah, like what? Like we paid for this, like, you know, but now I'm the opposite. When things happen like that, I'll say, whew, I bet we just like missed like a car accident or something. And people will be like, what? Like even if I'm standing in line at the grocery store, did you ever do that? You're standing in the line, it's fucking really busy and people are antsy, tapping their feet and they want to get the fuck out of there. And then all of a sudden, like, they're like, oh, shift change, and the person's got to take their drawer, and the other one's, it's like, the shift change happens. You can't, I'm sure they probably try not to do shift change during busy hours or whatever, but sometimes you're down to two cashiers because it's that time of night and they're switching out, but now it's really busy, right? I remember too, like the grocery stores, like when bars were getting close to closing and people are trying to rush and buy before 2 a.m. And I lived in certain states where it's like literally like the systems would lock, like they couldn't even like ring it up, like after, like that was it, like 2 a.m., like that was it, nothing, even if it was a 24-hour grocery store, like they're like, sorry, bam, it won't even let me like ring it, and people are like, fuck, I was waiting in line, what the fuck, and it's because you probably didn't need any more alcohol. You know what I mean? So now when I'm in that line and that happens, I say things like that. And if people get gruff or they're angry and I'm like, well, you can believe what you want to believe. I'm like, but I like to believe that everything happens for a reason. So I'm like, look, we're all being inconvenienced. It's not just you. So let's just get through this best we can. It's not their fault. They're doing their. And those are the people that we were brought here to be. If you chose this reading, you chose the owl and the unknown, but you chose the owl because you are wisdom. You have wisdom. You know this. But if you're having any fear issues, it's because of the unknown. It's the unknown that you can't see. It's the unknown that you're not sure about right now. I'm sorry, my mom is so funny. My mom's here right now. I knew when my mom crossed over it was going to be so awesome, but I had no idea how good it was going to get, and it's just getting better and better. When my mother was alive, you guys know I used to say, my mom used to say, or my mom says, blah, 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 but my mom got that from her mom, and my mom, you know what I mean, or she'd say Aunt Billy says, and these are a lot of from my family were from my dad's side, really heavy from Germany, and my mom's side, one side that she got a lot of these, attributes or whatever you call them, these little things from, were from the South. And now it's like, now that my mom's crossed over, she's been really like kind of cautious, but like today she has just like been jumping in. In fact, right when I started this at the very beginning, it was 10/13, which is my mom's birthday. And just now she gave me an inside joke that made me, that I could not tell you, because it made me laugh like so hard that I was just like, I'm not going to share it with you right now because it's like a funny long story. But anyway, haha, my mom just said, ha ha, long, because there's something in the, which has to do with something being long. Anyway, but it's not sexual. It's not like that at all. Anyway, it's just so funny. So I'm hearing that's the kind of stuff that they want you to look at. Like, listen to your ancestors when they're sending you a joke, or, you know what I mean? Or like, if you're in some place where you're impatient or you're upset about something, or you're stuck in traffic, or your train's not going to make it or whatever. So what? If you fucking lose the job, you're meant to lose the job. If somebody breaks up with you or doesn't show up or whatever, that was supposed to happen. And sometimes it's the clarity of it. Oh, when I looked down, it was 146. I didn't see the other numbers, but all I saw was 146. So 1 is a new year. 46 could be a year for you guys, but also it's about 10 in completion. And we're also in the month of January when this is being done, which is the new year, and it's 111. So it's 146, which is also the number 11. So they're like, look to the angels, ask the angels for help. If you chose this group, this reading, like, you guys are really fucking profound healers. You are profound light workers. I wouldn't be surprised if you were drawn to reading 3, and you may want to go there as well, because I didn't say this in the group reading, but I'll say it to you now. The only, out of the 3 readings, the only one that got this was the reading 3, which is Destiny and the White Feather, was this little card that was also gifted to us by a tribe member, Anna. Almost everything that I say was gifted to us by a tribe member is Anna. I swear, I'm not exaggerating. Anna and I, we became friends through Instagram. Then I started this, and she was one of my very first supporters. I call her the president of Magical Medium, because she really is. I feel like, because she's like really been here since the beginning with me. And even though I have like my friends and family that have been with me from the beginning too, Anna and I are different. It's like we met like through like social media. Like, we've never met in person, but we are like so tight. Like, we are family, we are kin. Like, we've definitely been connected before, in past lives and everything. Like, we're so connected. And so she sends so many gifts to the tribe, so you can really, really honestly like thank her for all of, there's so many decks that we use, imagery, pictures, like just so many things of divination. But anyway, it'll be in the description box, but she sent me this awesome card when I started writing my book series, and it said, write your book. And then on the back of it, it has this whole thing about old souls. So they want me to put this with reading 3, but the whole point was there's a feather on the front of it. It says write your book, and then there's a white feather. And because the white feather is reading 3, I feel like that's a message for some people like to write their book. But on the reverse side, it says this, and I feel like I'm meant to read this to you. And also I saw 148, and I feel like for some of you, you didn't even have an awakening till you were 48, or you were awake, or you've always known you were special, different, whatever, but when you were 48 is when it like really fucking hit you, where you were like, holy shit, like I can't live like this anymore, like I'm not a muggle, like I can't do this, I can't, like my body won't let me. It's not even about I can't, it's like, no, I mean, like I cannot, like my body won't let me eat this anymore, my body won't let me, use this anymore, or whatever. Very old souls you guys are. So anyway, this says, you are a very old soul. You are a great poet, and your writing is so beautiful. Begin today and write your book. Heal with each page. Recall all the amazing miracles and challenges you have faced and conquered in this, your book of life. Get started and enjoy the thoughts that make you who you are. Now listen, this is a very strong message. Some of you, this may be literal. Others of you, it could just be a journal. Writing in a gratitude journal every single day, some people swear by it. Some people write 10 things they're grateful for every night before they go to bed, or when they wake up in the morning, or 5 at night, 5 in the morning, whatever works for you. But take this and put it out into the universe. Spirit will send you a sign, like which is your medicine. But even if it's not every day, but just something that you write in, or start writing on your laptop, write a story. You can, here's this. If you are here right now, most likely your story is very interesting from inception to now. So you could always take certain things from your story and write a book, because that's what I did. I literally started my novel series because so many people wanted to know how I came into my gifts, or like what happened, or blah, 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 because I didn't, I always say I didn't come out of a box like this. I didn't really like jump into my gifts until my late 30s, early 40s, and I'm 53 now. So I was always meant to be more successful as a crone. Now, mind you, my whole life has been a success. Even the parts that people would think, would deem unworthy, or I was a fuck up or a loser or whatever. That's their terminology. To me, I'm like, that was my lesson. That was how grateful am I. Look at what I, Look at what I accomplished. Look at, what I mean? So that in itself, your life is an accomplishment. But if you see yourself, or maybe your whole life you saw yourself a certain way, you lived in your muggle, so to speak, but the whole time you saw yourself as like an anime character, or you saw yourself like Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice, like really goth and whatever, but you never had the courage to be goth or be that kind of shadowy, dark kind of energy embedded in you, because you were raised by a family that was like, girls wear pink, and you know what I mean? Be what you've always wanted to be. If you're not ready to step into that in this lifetime, then step into that character while you are in the book. You know what I mean? So like, maybe there's a name that you love, Stardust. Maybe you're like, I always saw myself as like kind of like a mix between this character, this character, this character, and I would call myself Stardust. Well, fucking write a book about it. You can still infuse your life and your experiences. It's very cathartic. It is so, let me tell you something. I have said this for years, and I mean it. I have gone back, because now my book it's like hundreds of pages, so it's like I have to, go back to certain chapters, or I'll say to Spirit, like, which chapter should I refine and work on? I've taken long breaks. I have been working on this novel series for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. A lot. At least 5 or 6, because a lot of it was like I thought about it, but then I actually, started writing it. I'd have to think back, but I was trying to think, it doesn't matter. But the moral of the story is that, some people write songs, books, poems, whatever, in like a minute. They just need to get it all out. Some people, it takes them, they go on vacation for 2 weeks, they write it, like that's all they do. They live and breathe it, they work through it, and then it's out. Some people, it takes years and years and years. And in my experience, why this takes years, why this practice is the way it is for some of us, is because it's meant to be one thing and then go into another thing. But do you know that when I found this group of writers, because I was new and I was like, I want to seek out my peers. Like, I've never been a writer. Like, I've always wrote songs and been a poet and wrote things and wrote in journals, but like, I never thought of myself as a novelist or somebody. I started writing a few novels in my time, but just gave up. They're probably stuck on hard drives somewhere in a fucking landfill. Seriously, for real. Like, one of them I started writing, it was really beautiful, and I had gotten pretty far. For me at that time, I think I wrote like 65 pages or something, which was a lot. It could have been a short story, really. I could have left it where it was. But anyway, right? But that was just for me to work through a lot of different things. So when I joined this group, one of the things they said to me, one of the first things one of them said to me was, "How are your rewrites going?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, is that like a thing? I feel like such a failure." And she laughed and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, honestly," she's like, "I'm not saying this to, she goes, everybody has their own path and their own, way of doing things." She's like, "But in my experience, the most successful novelists, like, hardly ever just wrote the book out in one go. And if they do," she's like, "that's cool. And they're probably like channeling some force of energy, and that's awesome too." She's like, "But most people," she's like, "when you're writing something," she's like, "you're going to have rewrites over and over and over and over and over. Because when you start, you're like, is the book coming from my viewpoint? Is the book coming from another person's viewpoint? You don't really realize it till you start writing it. And then I started to realize, the more and more I was writing, that I was really just going through some type of cathartic therapy. And I was putting my experiences and infusing them into these characters that I had built, because I had met and known so many. I came from such a large family, always had large groups of friends, always surrounded by people, that all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like I after I would go back and these characters, I was like, of course they have backstories. Your characters, that's what makes a more enriching story. That some of them, you don't even know the backstory, but you feel like you know the backstory because they tell the narrative of them so well. And that's what I realized, is that you want someone to pick up a book that from the first sentence you're hooked. And some people are like, oh, that's hard to do. I'm like, it is if you think about it too much. But like, I have rewrote the beginning of my novel series more times than I literally could tell you. They have moved to other books because it's going to be a series of books. They've moved, but I didn't realize at the time what I was doing. I was just regurgitating like all these different thoughts and all these experiences and making them be flashbacks or this or that. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like multiple books. Then I realized these are multiple characters. Okay, so this, I'm like, this character needs to have this character. Literally, the characters were so rich that I was like, I can literally start another book series just on that character. You know what I mean? And that's because I had compiled characters from all the different people that I'd met, with this person. And then this, like, if somebody was like, did you base this character on one person? There is not one person in the entire book series that is based on just one person. They are an acclamation of, like, is that the word? Right? They're like a cumulative, whatever, like, of so many different ones. Even if one character, there's at least 3 people that I knew, experienced, ran into, worked with, whatever. Met in a bar for 10 minutes, whatever, that gave them that quirk or gave them that whatever. And I'm sure people could pick it apart and be like, oh, that's me. And they're probably right. There's a part of them in there. But that's what I started to realize, was that, writing it's actually really fun, and you can do whatever you want with it. So don't, as that term, is it pigeonholed? Like, don't hold yourself down or like hold yourself back because of what somebody told you. Or, recently Angelina Jolie, she just did Maria, which is based on Maria Callas, which, oh my gosh, I just got the chills, because Maria Callas is the last grave that I went to and touched. And if I wish I had knew more about her. Now when I go back to Paris and go to Père Lachaise Cemetery, I'm going to like just hang out with her so much more. But like, I kissed Oscar Wilde. I went to, Jim Morrison. Like, I did like all like the famous ones, but I was like, I have to go to Maria Callas. And I knew of her, but I didn't really like know that much about her at the time. but I was so drawn to go to her grave. And when I was there, I just felt her. Like I just wanted to touch her grave. I don't know why, but I was just like, I love you. I'm like, you're not alone. And I didn't know what I was saying. And now seeing Angelina Jolie, and she's out there, telling everybody like all the research she did for Maria Callas, and how lonely she felt, like even though she was the greatest soprano of all time, like the greatest opera singer, at that time of all time. I think some people still think of her as the greatest opera singer of all time. People didn't understand that she was actually very lonely because she was incredibly intelligent and sensitive, and she had all these like things that, well, I don't want to give it away, but I haven't seen the movie yet either, but I saw, and I want to say Angie, I feel like I know her, but everybody calls her Angie, on these interviews, and I saw her on this roundtable talk, and she said, I really aligned with Maria Callas because she said, when I was younger, I used to love to sing, and I stopped singing because somebody who I really cared about and somebody whose thought of me was very important told me that I didn't sing and I couldn't sing and that I shouldn't do that, and just basically like, I'm paraphrasing, but basically just like be the actress, be the sex symbol, be the beautiful, whatever. But like when she was younger, speaking of The Bone Collector, we were just talking about that movie in the group reading, but when I was watching that young her and I just saw this older her on this interview, to be so vulnerable and say how lonely she is and she doesn't have a lot of friends and she's very misunderstood, and it was just really powerful. And I had such a connection with her that I was like, oh my gosh, because I hated her. I loved Brad, and I was so into the Benifer, or the Brad of Brennifer, whatever, when Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston got together and got married. Like, I just loved them, and I worked in Hollywood at the time and knew people who knew them, and they were just like a really happy couple. And so when I found out that he had an affair with Angelina Jolie on the movie, I judged her really harshly. I liked Angelina Jolie a lot. I was actually a huge fan of hers. The Bone Collector is one of my favorite movies, but when I found out like that she did that, I was like, that's fucking horrible. I'm like, that's horrible. Because Jennifer Aniston was so nice. Like, you could just tell she was just such a nice person. At least it seemed like she was. And I thought, man, you just publicly fucking like did that to her. And she had no remorse about it either. And I just really felt for her on such a deep, deep, deep level that I started to like hate Angelina Jolie. I was like, you're a home wrecking whore. Like, that was my muggle, third dimensional thinking. So I didn't really like her for a long time. And then when Maleficent came out, I was like starting to come around to her. I saw her in an interview and I was like, maybe I was right. Maybe she is cool. She just made a bad mistake, or maybe her and Brad were meant to be, and but whatever. But now watching her after her divorce from him, and she's been more vocal, it's been really powerful. I mean, I don't know her real story. For all I know, she's unwell and unstable, and everybody's right, but I don't think so. I think there's something about her that's very beautiful and very fragile and was very powerful at one point, and I think over time she lost her voice. And so she said in this interview, she's like, I aligned with Maria Callas because she said even though she had the biggest voice in the world, she's like, nobody listened to her. Everybody told her what to do. Everybody told her what to sing. Everybody told her. So I feel like for you guys, if you're here right now, you're holding this wealth of knowledge and skills and gifts, and you have so much to give the world. And Spirit's like, maybe your mission, should you choose to accept it, if you want to, no pressure, but seek out that movie. I'm going to seek it out too. Maria with Angelina Jolie, it just came out. And when she wanted to do the project, and she said, I can't sing. And they said, well, why don't we try? Because some of these, it's going to be hard if you don't do some of the singing yourself. And so she went and trained with, these vocal trainers and opera singers and stuff. And she's like, holy shit, I can really sing. I let them tell me that I couldn't sing, but she's doing a lot of the singing in there herself. And she said, this movie not only like gave me so much on like multiple levels, like spiritually, whatever, she's like, but it gave me my voice back. She goes, I feel like I took my power back. And interesting that right when this movie just came out, her divorce just finally finalized with Brad Pitt after 8 years. And look at that karma, right? She got her fucking karma. She did. If she had that karma with him, or excuse me, if they had that connection like they did, then they should have waited and let him tell Jennifer and then them get a divorce. And then if they got together later, people can speculate, whatever. But like, I mean, it's very obvious, and he said in so many words, and so is he, that they definitely had an affair while he was married to Jen. So, karma is very real. So she went through, she made him the father, not made him, but she, wanted a father of her children because she was adopting kids by herself and she wanted a family, and like she did it, but look at what it cost her. And now the kids barely talk to him. I don't know what the story is. You know what I mean? Like, it's none of my business, but but it got really ugly. So right now we are being shown on all different levels. If we go for what is meant for us, it will come to us. But we still have to work for it. You have to write the book. You can be thinking about the book all day long, but you have to write the book. Or maybe it's a TV show, maybe it's a poem, maybe it's music, whatever it is for you guys. But because it was that card was specific for reading 3 though. We haven't gotten there yet, so I have no idea how it's going to show up there. But this was to show you that you're an old soul, but you're buying into the third dimensional energy of fear and letting that hold you back from taking that leap forward. For some of you, you know what you need to do, and you need to be uncomfortable, but stepping out of your comfort zone is scary. Maybe you're 48 years old. Maybe that was for you, maybe you're somewhere in your age where you feel like, I can't start over again. Maybe you're in a marriage with children, animals. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to pull this apart. Let me tell you something. I have known for a long time that this was coming with my family. I knew it was coming. I mean, obviously, eventually Bubba was going to go. I knew that if Alder and I didn't deal with certain things in our relationship, it was going to have to split up, because I came here, I'm on a mission. Drink some water. And so are you. And when you're on a mission, you have to do it. Something inside of you says, I have to do this. I saw 246. So that means like 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? And spirits are cheering you on, and they're like, but also 2, 4, 6. Some of you have been like jumping leaps and bounds, right, in your spirituality, but it's because you're going 2, 4, 6, and you're moving ahead, but you're missing 1 and 3 and 5 and 7. You know what I mean? You have to have the lows and you have to have the highs. There's no such thing as staying in the highs all the time and the lows all the time. It's not natural. The whole point of humanity is to go in the ebbs and flows. It's a school. And so we're here to learn from the school. You understand? So you are in school right now. But what if your school was, like, I saw this once too from a teacher that said, what if school for children was what they really loved? Because that's what they did. Before schools were around, when we were in communities or tribes, are you going to take the kid who, if you see a child, girl, boy, doesn't matter. If you see a child at 12 years old that cannot chop wood properly, and they're trying, but you're like, somebody's going to get hurt. This isn't, but boy, they can make a mean pie, right? Like in the kitchen, they're super good. They love food. And then you have another, same 12-year-old child that can whip the shit out of that wood. They're just naturally, they're bigger, they're stronger, even maybe they're smaller, but they've got the dexterity, whatever it is, but they can't cook for shit. What do you think they're going to do? Not this like, we're in a school system, you suck at math. You're good at this, you're not good at this. So, blah, blah, blah. Instead of like, well, maybe you don't actually suck at math. Maybe it's because your brain doesn't ingest math that way. I learned that. I had straight A's until I got to junior high. Straight A's. School was so easy for me that I think it actually like frightened my parents in a way. But it's because I was the third child and I was I was home with my mom, who was a stay-at-home mom, who was incredibly intelligent and read 3 books a week. We used to go to the library all the time. I was always at the library with my mom. I was always, my mom was teaching me things. I knew my ABCs, how to tie my shoes and count to 100 by the time I was like 3. I was walking by the time I was 7 months. My mom said, literally one day, my brother and sister ran out to play, and I was like, I want to be with them. And she said, I got up and ran after them. She's like, it was insane. She was like, unless you were doing that and we didn't see you, she's like, that's the first time I ever saw you walk. And you got up and ran after you were 7 months old. I probably wobbled, but you know what I mean? So it's like, if you want something bad enough, you're going to go for it. And if you're surrounded by people who make you better, then you'll be better. But if you're surrounded by people who constantly tear you down, who constantly bring you to the past, who are constantly, telling you that you're inferior, that you're not good enough, that you don't have the skills. One of the things after my father passed was You know how they always say that the child is always worth more than the parent, right? Because with each generation we get better. Well, my father was the opposite. Even though deep down, when we would play music together, he would hear me hit certain notes or whatever, and he'd be like, he especially when he was drunk. When he was drunk, he was a lot more kinder. When he was sober, his ego was like, kind of fragile. But when he was drunk, he'd be like, "Man, you really hit that note." He's like, "You got a voice, you got pipes. Yeah, I wish I could sing like you." He's like, "You and Spence, my godfather, who was his best friend, they were in this band together and they had their own music, but then they found their success doing an Elvis tribute band when Elvis was alive, because my godfather looked and sounded so much like Elvis Presley, or he could make himself sound like that. So they started doing that and they were making money. And my dad was a phenomenal guitar player. Like my dad was like, where you heard that, where you're like, holy shit. My dad was that guy, right? And so I remember saying, I'm like, yeah, but I can't play guitar like you, Dad. But that wasn't good enough. It was almost like, because he wanted to be a good singer, it was like, instead of pushing me to be a whatever, he was always like trying to be better than me, or like, don't get better than me, kid, or don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't outshine me. But in his death, he said, my God, he's like, if, now in death, he can look back at everything and have no remorse and no regrets and see the big picture. And he's like, my God, if we had just invested in you instead of like treating my sensitivity as a cancer, you know what I mean? And treating my voice was different and weird, but I could have been the next Adele. I remember for years when I would go on auditions and they'd say, who do you sound like? And I'm like, I can sound like almost anybody, And when Ariana Grande started doing these impressions, singing different singers, I'm like, I can still do that. I used to really be able to do it, but I mean, I used to do that all the time. And my dad would say, stop sounding like her. I remember when Mariah Carey came out and he's like, you can't, hit those whistle notes. Like, don't try and do that. And I was like, I actually can do that. And he's like, well, yeah, but you don't sound like her though. Just because you can hit it, you're not like, it's not whatever. But it was just because I'd go on auditions and they'd be like, I don't know where to put you. I would hear this all the time, whether it was an acting audition or a modeling audition, or, gosh, the camera loves your face, but you're too short to be a model, And then I got into face modeling and, but it was just always like, they didn't know what to do with me. And my family was the same way. It was like, oh, so the one thing that I was the best at, that everybody loved, and it was easy because I could be a chameleon and roll into characters, was acting. And that's why I moved to LA, because I was a good actor. And I do love acting. If you look at my other channel, Lula's Labyrinth, I love doing the lip syncs, and I won so many lip sync contests when I was a kid. I love doing that. I love putting my emotions into music or a piece of, musical theater, or even like a funny skit. But, it's not all of me. Singing is my true passion. Music is my true passion. It flows through me. It feels natural. I love it, but that wasn't what everybody pushed, because I could sing, but I wasn't a great singer. And then when I moved to LA, I'd meet certain people and they're like, oh, I love your voice. It's so, I don't know, it's like you do these cool little things. Now, the things that I did with my voice then that they found irksome are now what made Adele, Miley Cyrus. I go on and on. You know what I mean? But I wasn't meant to be the trailblazer in that. I know I'm definitely going to do music in this lifetime. There's no way I'm not, more than I already have. But it wasn't time. And so Spirit is saying everything is in divine timing. And the unknown only feels scary to you because you can't see it. But if you let go of that control and just do what you really love and keep working at it. And I say to work at it every day, even 10 minutes a day. I really mean that, because it can make all the difference in the world. And when I don't do the thing I love for at least 10 minutes a day, I can feel it. So just start. When you're done with this reading, maybe you're too tired and you're going to go to bed, whatever, but the next day, later today, tomorrow, but just start in this new year and this new time. And maybe it's going to be when we go into the new lunar year. Maybe it's on the 29th of January when we go into the year of the snake. Maybe it's going to be when we go into Aries season, when we go into the new zodiac year, whatever, works for you. And that's in March, by the way. Whatever works for you. I got this download the other day that, because I had said to Spirit, I'm like, can you at least give me this or that? Because I'm like, am I not listening to the signs? Because I felt so ungrounded. Even when I got grounded, I still like felt ungrounded. Like, I'm like, I still kept getting yes, no, yes, no. which means not yet, which means don't do nothing. When you don't know what to do, do nothing. Don't reach for your cards. Don't go look at a reading. Don't, and I'm saying this from personal experience, right? It's just going to bring you more confusion, more grief, and more suspect of something that may not be suspect at all. Because our fucking brains can go down that labyrinth of like uncertainty and the unknown and turn it into something that it's not supposed to be. So when you're feeling whatever, get grounded, go for a walk, take a few breaths. You know, it really is like the distraction. Anything that makes you laugh, go play with a puppy. I don't care what it is. You know, if you have a friend that has a dog and you're like, can I go walk your dog? You know, just anything that'll distract you. Kids are a great distraction. They'll say or do something, they'll fart, make you laugh, and you're just like, oh, life isn't that serious. You know what I mean? So I feel like for some of you, it gets so serious. Your fear of the unknown has become so serious that it's ruling. This may not be for everybody, but there's definitely a majority of you that like you're not doing certain things because you're really afraid of it, and they're like, it's time to step out of your comfort zone. So I felt like we were gonna start the cards from the beginning, and it's the opposite. So they're either gonna pull you a bunch of cards, or you're just gonna have one card as something for you to work on. Okay, so here's the first card. Oh, the Lady of the Lake. I love this card because it's actually the image that's on the box too from the Wisdom of the Avalon deck. So in this deck, I'm going to read it to you so you know. It has different groups. You know how like sometimes it's just like a tarot deck and then it's like you've got your major arcana, your minor arcana, whatever. But this one it has what they call markers. I believe they call them markers. So I'm going to see if I can try and find it. I love this one. They're like, descriptions of each card follow below. We also have samples. Nancy, an aspiring artist, was unhappy where she was living. Isn't that kind of cute? Like that they give you something like that. I'm sorry, I just thought that was like kind of cute and kind of funny. Okay, so they're not bringing me there. Oh, here we go. So here are the groups that they come in. The Messengers of Avalon, the Animal Guides of Avalon, the Guides of the Fairy, and the Sacred Journey Markers. So this one is the Messages of Avalon. It's number 8, which is very interesting because we're still, even though we're in a 9-year, we were in an 8-year of 2024, which is also akin to the dragon, and we're still in the dragon energy. As of today, 17 more days until the 29th. When you watch this, it'll be less, of course, but if you add that together, it's also the number 8. So I feel like 8 is significant for you, and maybe you're going to be seeing a lot of 8s or 888, or maybe you need to listen to the 888 hertz frequency, or it could be something like that. But this one is the Lady of the Lake, and the keywords are absolute truth, courage, self-respect, and responsibility are your key words, okay? So even if you have to pause this and go and get something to write it down or put it in your phone and make a screenshot of it, these are your key words. I feel like at least for this reading right now, I'm going to say these are your key words for 2025. As we bleed into 2024 to 2025, that's why we have the crossover with the lunar year, because nothing it's like, it's not a light switch moment. And it pisses me off when people do that, because I did it too, and it put me in a lot of pressure too, right? It's like, January 1st, you quit drinking. January 1st, you're in the gym. It's like, okay, so you've spent your whole life doing a certain thing, and now you're going to just shift the next day. You're not going to just like slowly urge it out, or you're not going to give yourself a little, it's like, especially if it's an addiction, that just causes more friction. And then it's all in your head, right? Like then you're just like all messed up and fucked up, and like you're like, it makes you, feel all this pressure to be this version of yourself when you need to be, the version that you need to be in the interim. Yes, you're going to tackle that thing. Yes, you're going to conquer that thing, but it's not a light switch moment. It takes a minute. So give yourself time. So it makes sense to me that we have the Gregorian calendar, January 1st, brand new year, but we're still in the year of the lunar year of the Chinese dragon, right? So once we get to the year of the snake on the 29th, then we'll also be going through the transformation of getting out of the dragon energy, going into the snake energy, until we go into March, when we're going into the new zodiac year, right? So allow yourself, that's why this time of year, whether you're in winter or in summer, whichever hemisphere, because we have both here, we love you all. Summer and winter to me have always been the time to really go inward. Even if you're in summer and you're like outwardly like playing and having fun or whatever, it's like it's like a time for rest. It's a time for play. Winter, if you're in a colder state, right? Like colder, climate, you're going to be more inside. So it's a lot of times we go more internal, more inward, right? Because there's not much to do outside. You can go outside if you want to bundle up and whatever, that's fine. But if you're not somebody who loves the cold, then you're going to be inside more. So seasonal depression is a very real thing, and Spirit's like, listen to that and listen to yourself, because your body and your mind and your soul are telling you how to, like, your map. Yes, we have our astrological, chart to give us the breadcrumbs to figure ourselves out and figure out our path, but also it is our intuition that tells us this works, that doesn't work, we need this, we don't need that. Hold on. You okay, Mama? Okay. Bubba says meow. Hold on. Okay, I apologize. Where were we? I apologize for putting you on hold, but, I got to take care of my friend when she's in need. But she's okay. She said she'll wait. But do you hear what I'm saying? It's like change is inevitable. And our path is individual. So it's going to look different, and it's going to show up differently all the time. And all of us right now are at endings and new beginnings. All of us. Every single one of us. And every single day, even if this wasn't all happening, this form of revelations, right? This end of the world energy. It's the end of the old world, the end of that world, and back to the beautiful. We're bringing it back into the light, back in, but it all needed to go there so we can all elevate ourselves as these light beings. And we don't know where we come from or why, or if the Big Bang Theory is right, is that our creator just one day realized that they were a being and created all this. I mean, who knows? Who knows? When we die, we'll know, but right now we only know so much that they give us, right? With the breadcrumbs that they're leading us down our paths. So if your path isn't aligning with someone else's path right now, then that's okay. Like right now, my path is not aligning. Bubba is going through her transition. I'm going through a transition. Alder is going through a transition. So at this time, we are not in the same place. Bubba and I are going to be in the same place because we have to be, right? Because where else is she going to go? She lives here. You know what I mean? Like, she's a cat. She lives here. She's my familiar. She's my best friend. She's not going anywhere. But he's been gone, living out of his van for like 6 months now. And he's where he needs to be, working through his stuff. So let things be the way they're going to be. And I get this from myself too. Like I'm getting that from Spirit for myself too. Drink some more water. Do you have water, Bubba? Okay, yeah, Bubba has water. So they want me to read this to you, okay? The Lady of the Lake. Okay, so take these words down first. Sorry, for those of you who are taking notes. Absolute truth. So if you need to pause it again, sorry. I think I went off on a tangent. I am sorry, not sorry kind of thing, because I'm like downloading so much. Whenever I break from downloading to like do this, and then like Bubba comes in, it's like, even that, right? I'm in multiple dimensions. I'm in multiple energy fields. So these are your words. Absolute truth, courage, self-respect, and responsibility. So live your life with absolute truth, courage, self-respect, and responsibility. And that's not playing the victim, right? That's the responsibility they want us to take, is not playing the victim. And it says here, the Lady of the Lake represents the highest order of respect for yourself and the manner in which you operate within the world around you. She is the harsher element of truth, where denial is swept away by a tidal wave of events. In the ancient legend of Avalon, the Lady of the Lake presented Merlin with the Sword of Truth, which had been claimed by Arthur, who became High King of Britain. The magic that welded, or they mean wielded, anyway. Welded, apologies. The magic that welded this metal was fired by the will of the god/goddess. Consequently, when the Lady of the Lake appears, she demands nothing short of total truth and integrity, and she asks you to be mindful of all the signs, signals, and omens that present themselves to you. This is not the time to second guess. If a signal appears, be assured that a challenge has been presented. Moving forward without acknowledgement of the challenge will result in unnecessary difficulties. If the signal is to move, she pushes you to act. Do so, for a victory is imminent. Regardless of your question, So if you had any questions or you came into this reading like having uncertainties, this applies to you, okay? If you didn't, you're just coming in and this is like, maybe this is like whatever, close your eyes if you can. And either way, just like whatever pops up when this is read, that is what they're talking about. Bubba's drinking her water if you hear her in the background. Okay. So this is not the time to second guess. If a signal appears, be assured that a challenge has been presented. Moving forward without acknowledgement of the challenge will result in unnecessary difficulties. If the signal is to move, she pushes you to act. Do so, for a victory is imminent. Regardless of your question, the message is to take care when the Lady of the Lake appears, as serious business is at stake. The lady reminds you of your personal responsibility in shaping your reality and its consequences. Seek the sword of truth within yourself, and great success will be yours. Have courage, for when the lady appears, the strength of Avalon is behind you in support of your quest for wholeness and abundance. Wow. So I'll take a picture of, if they have me, I'll put it in the book and near where I'm going to store it. And if they have me, I will put pictures and they'll be in the community section. There's going to be a lot of things from these readings in the community section. So feel free to, I love it, to check that out. Also on the bottom of the deck is the dragon number 24, which is power and strength. And that is from the Animal Guides of Avalon. And the dragon is saying they are with you. If you are in this reading right now, they are with you. They are behind you. They're like, we're always here. It's just that let's put it this way. We only got through those horrible things because the dragon energy was holding us up. When it is the year of that particular animal, they are there for the lessons, the guidance, the protection, the abundance, all of the things that, whatever they're aligned with, the light and the shadow, right? Whatever they're aligned with, the positive and negative, whatever way you look at it, good or bad, they're there to help us, right? They're also there to roar and yell in our face, right? When we're like, no, like my dragon, when I was like, no, stop peeing. I'm like, there's ways you can talk to me without peeing there. Really? I'm like, come on, there's got to be a better way. I was saying to my familiar when, but it's like, no, she's in hospice. It's like, she's going through a lot of stuff. She's still trying to teach me, even though her body, it's like she's using her urine as a weapon. And I know that sounds really gross and perverse and weird, but it's true. I was like, Bubba, I was like cleaning up after. I'm like, stop using pee as a weapon. I'm like, I feel like you're like, I'm like putting my my Wonder Woman cuffs up. Like, I'm like, stop peeing. I'm like, why? Because a lot of the time she's doing it like right in front of me, and I'm like, why? I'm like, you're peeing. She's doing it right next to it. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, you know what I mean? And it's not like, where they're like, oh my gosh, she's in pain and suffering. I'm like, oh no, you don't know her. I'm like, you don't know. I'm like, no, that was absolutely positively deliberate. And then like later she told me like it was deliberate. Like she's like trying to show me and teach me in ways that are abstract and maybe not the norm, but she's trying to show me like, I tried telling you this way. I tried showing you this way. So now do you get it? Like, now do you understand? Now do you like, she was like, I don't want to be over here. You think that's better for me. It's not. I want to be over here. So it's like she was kind of marking her territory, like almost like showing me the way. Like she was like peeing in like the breadcrumbs, like this is where I want to be. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I not see that from the beginning? Because I wasn't supposed to see it from the beginning. I was supposed to like go on this journey with her, and she was teaching me like how to be a better caretaker, how to be a better human, how to be a better person, how to be a better soul, a better spirit. You know what I mean? So sometimes the unknown, it may piss us off, and we're like, why? I don't understand. And then bam, it's like put right in front of you. So use the power and the strength of the dragon, because they are there showing you that they are there to be there to help you. Do you know what I'm saying? So are there any more cards? No. And if they call me to, they're not having me read from the dragon, but if they call me to, I'll put screenshots of the medicine from the book for the dragon in there. Okay. Is there anything else? That was a doozy. You guys did a really good job. You hung in there. It was an hour reading. I'm so proud of you. You did a really good job. Are there any more messages for reading one at this time? No, those are all of your messages. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, or you would like a recorded reading, email me magicalmedium@gmail.com. It's in my information. When you click at the top where it says Welcome Witches Healers, click on that. That have all my information. There's also my Amazon wish list if you'd like to donate anything to the tribe or to my home, my family, to help this channel going. You can do that. I'm going to start building my Amazon wish list even more. There's I have candles on there and cards right now, but I'm getting pulled from spirit for me to put more things on there. So maybe there's something on there that they want. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to send monetary. I want to send a deck, or hey, I want to help you out. What do you need? What do you need? You know what I mean? Like, do you need food? Do you need gas in your car? Like, what do you need? Like, what can I do? It's going to be like that kind of thing. And then, of course, I always have my Venmo, and I do have a PayPal link. If you're interested, you can message me, because PayPal link is really just for my people who are outside of the country. Anybody else, Venmo is accessible. You can get it, and you can send me anything through there. But if you'd like to, also, this is the bonus thing for this is a new thing I'm going to be doing on the Magical Medium channel, which is I'm going to start doing channeled messages for crossed over loved ones or ancestors that maybe you need some answers, and it's not with decks or anything like that. This is like a pure channeling where like they will actually like come in and you can speak with them. It is free. It is free for you if you will allow me to post it on the channel. You can put your name on if you want to. If you don't, you will have full anonymity. It will be private. It will be posted public, but we will do it in this format, in a podcast format where they will only hear your voice. Okay, I can even change your name or not use your name however you want to. You can give me a name at the beginning you want to use, Feather, whatever it is, and then that could be like your name throughout the reading. But if you would like to participate in that and get some answers for yourself, it is free. And then, like I said, the exchange of energy for me is that I get to put it on the channel. I feel like this is the next level of the channel. I feel like this is the next progression of it. Think Tyler Henry, because that's how they put it into my mindset when I put it out there. People really like to watch these readings, watching other people get like readings from crossed over loved ones, and then they're like, I want to do it, you know what I mean? So if you know somebody who would like to participate, if you know someone who would like to participate, please pass my email address on to them, and I will get in touch with them, and we will go from there. You do have to sign an agreement, but it's not like an agreement like you would think. It's more like that you'll have your phone off, that you will stay hydrated, that kind of stuff. Like, because I had to start doing that agreement because people would show up to readings drunk, they would show up hungover, and I'm like, no. We do not connect with spirit when your body is at a low vibration like that. We do not connect with spirit when your body is, if you just ate like 2 bags of Cheetos and blah, blah. It's like, no. It's a short period of time of 24 hours where I have you do kind of like a little detox. You can detox longer before it if you want to. But it's just like 24 hours where I just ask you to like eat healthy, stay, like spirit will tell me like what you should eat or not eat or whatever. And then we do the channeling together. I do the same thing. Just so you know, I do the same thing. Usually after the channelings though, I'm like famished. I eat for like 2 days because I'll like eat almost like nothing for like a few days and just get my body like really like super grounded so that I can hold space, because sometimes the entities actually want to come into my body, like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, and like use like they actually want to like speak to you. I've actually done one where the woman was like, you sounded like my dad. That was like tripping me out. Like not in a creepy like in a movie where I was like blah blah blah, but she was just like she's like, it was your voice, but like I like the things you said, your mannerisms, because we did it in person, and she's like, because her dad wanted to hug her one more time, and she said, you smelled like my dad when I hugged you. That is so fucking crazy. I'm like, yeah, well, because that's what I am. I'm a pure channel. So if you want to do something like that, put the word out there, put the message out there. I'm thinking about putting together a little shorts, and then if you want, you could even share that on your social media, because I feel like that's how the channel is going to keep growing. A lot of people right now don't know what to believe because there's so much fakery and fuckery out there. So I feel like this will be a good way because we need more Tyler Henrys, and I am Tyler Henry, meaning like we share very similar gifts. We all have our own gifts, of course, but we share similar gifts in that sense, and people need to have that experience. So many people that I watch on that show were like, I was not a believer, and then I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no way. Like I never even told my wife that. Like how would they know that? And that's how I started doing this. Okay. So anyway, here we go. Bubba's getting antsy and I need to go. So I love you guys so much. I will see you at the next reading. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Blessed be at home. Bye. Welcome reading 2. I'm just popping into this one with you. Oh, what was that with my voice? I'm so sorry. Out of nowhere, I'm starting to lose my voice, which is kind of interesting because I still have this and the other reading to go, but it's been really intense. It's not I mean, it's because I've been doing this for almost, what is this, 2 hours and 32 minutes. And whenever I channel like this or work with the ancestors this like deeply and the dragons and like such big guns like that all at once, it can be kind of draining. But anyway, so I was drawn to pull cards for you right away. And if you chose this pile, obviously you know why you chose it. But I can tell you that it was put together with the word heritage and lemongrass. And I just took a big sniff of my lemongrass essential oils and I put it on my fingertips and just shuffled your cards with them. And the first card that I pulled was the Deer. Gentleness and diplomacy are your key words. Now, I didn't know how this was going down, but the way, 233, so if that means anything to anybody. So if you were drawn to reading one, you may want to go watch it. If not, no worries. But what I'm saying is that when I was doing the reading one, I got this vibe that it was turning into like kind of like not a projection so much of 2025, or I should say, I don't want to go into reading ones, blah blah blah. If you're drawn to it, go watch it. But they had like 2 more words or phrases or whatever more than this. But I got the vibe from their reading that the words that were on their card were the words for 2025. Like to live by, to, work with, whatever they were. And it's the same for you. So I don't know if it's going to continue into the third reading, but so far it wasn't in the, we didn't pull cards in the group reading. So that was just straight up channeling. So this one, the Deer, is number 22, which is, oh my gosh, what I looked at was 2:34:22. Like 2 hours, 34 minutes, 22 seconds. Holy shit, that's crazy. But not crazy, right? And also, their first card was the number 8, and 2 is a derivative of that, right? And also 22 is 4, and half of 8 is 4. So also it's about balance. So I'm feeling like it's time to get your balance back, is what I'm hearing from Spirit. And the Deer is, they're about gentleness, diplomacy. Deer are the ones in the forest that are like, they're like, oh, they're so cute. Look at how sweet they are. Look at how cute they are when they chew, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but have you ever seen a deer fight? They will fuck your shit up, and they will not apologize for it either. Those hooves are like, they have very strong legs. So it's kind of like the vibe I'm getting for you guys is your vibe for 2025. I feel like my vibe for 2025. I'm sure somebody's already doing this, but this just came to me. So let's just put this out there. So your vibe for 2025 is this kind of like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. And you can be in that energy without being a bully or a jerk, or, you know what I mean? Like, this is the year that we walk the walk. Thank you, Sherwood. Sherwood's my spirit stuffy. He's like, there's like definitely, I don't know if it's Archangel Michael, but there's definitely something like inside of him that right now when he's looking at me, I'm like, look away, Sherwood, look away. Because I'll have to like take a picture and like post it so you guys can see it, because it's no joke. They're just little black fucking balls and eyes, but you can tell there is something inside there. Like literally, I have to take a picture of him right now so that when you see it, you'll like, sorry, I was leaning into him. By the way, how do you guys like this podcast format? So, spirits, this is a new thing. I don't know if it's going to be all the time, but I feel like they only want me to do pick-a-cards when you see me, when I'm like, want to be in it and want to, because these are more fun. I could be more myself. This is how I do my readings. Like if you did a one-on-one reading with me, this is how it is, it's like we have a good time, we learn, we talk to the other side, we pull cards, you know what I mean? It's like it's like hanging out with your friend at their house. And that's what I always wanted to create on this channel, was like that kind of energy that you felt like, you're my family, like you're here. Thank you so much for being here. It's like we were connected before and we're connected again, for a reason. But yeah, I just have been feeling lately that these podcasts are really the way to go right now, because I feel like we all kind of need to be in our own thing. And sorry, I'm trying to take pictures and talk to you at the same time. It's always so hard to do. I'm trying to get really into his eyes so you can like see his, but he's so cute. I want you to see all of him. You're so cute, Sherwood. You're so cute. I know I'm 53 years old talking to my stuffed animal, but I don't fucking care because I've always been that way. And I feel like you guys have always been that way too. Like, right? Like, I feel like you're like the observers, you know, like you're the ones that kind of sit back and like watch what's going on, right? Kind of like the deer, right? Same thing. Like deer may look all innocent or whatever, but they're kind of chewing their food. Do you ever watch them when they're like really relaxed? They're chewing kind of fast and they're like, you know, this is yummy, but not chewing fast because they're scared. They're like, yum, yum, yum. But then you ever see, like, if you look at a deer too long or if they see something like off, you see how they start to chew slower because they're like observing. And I kind of feel like that's your message for 2025 too, is to be the observer. I did a shorts on this. If Spirit calls me to, I'll put it in the description box. There's a bunch of cool things that Spirit's linking me to put in the description box. So make sure to check that out. And take it easy in this full moon in Cancer energy. Blessed full moon in Cancer in real time today. Oh yeah, and real. If you didn't watch the group reading, in real time, it's 111. It's the first portal. Technically 1-1 is right because it's like the first whatever. And technically the 10th yesterday was too because it was like the mirror of 1. But because it's a 9-year, yesterday was really powerful to me because it was an 11 day. It was 1 and then 10, just like the first of the year was. It was like 11. Right, because if you add 9 from 2025 is 9, and then January is 1, and then, you know, the first is 1. So today's a 12 day, which also comes out to the number 3. Tomorrow's a 13 day on the 12th Sunday, and then the 13th is the full moon in Cancer. I mean, we're having the full moon in Cancer on the 13th on a moon day on a Monday. I mean, that's going to be some powerful fucking shit. I'm definitely going to do something for that. I don't know what yet, but yeah, so look out for that too. But yeah, if you don't watch this in real time, no worries. I mean, it's always applicable. It's just, I like to tell people what's going on in real time so you can feel the energy. Because yesterday I was all over the map and was really struggling with a lot of things. And then today, it was like right before I started this, I had this like horrible meltdown and cried. And I was like, oh, this fucking moon. I mean, you know, every moon cycle has lessons and highs and lows, it ebbs and flows. But there are some that when you put certain energies together, it's a whopper. And the full moon in Cancer during Capricorn is a whopper because Capricorns are kind of no nonsense, like, you know, whatever, stop crying, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Cancers are like, I don't know why I'm crying. You know what I mean? And so it can be this kind of, so be mindful when you're around people. And this energy tends to like stay around too, you know, even if it's more subdued, you know, as the days before and days after, or the days before it's growing, the days after it's a little more subdued, you know, we're kind of breathing, but right now we're in the rise of it. So it's just going to get more intense and more bouncy and more like, so, you know, and if you watch this later, you'll probably go back and look at that and go, oh yeah, I had a doozy, or this person had road rage, or my partner freaked out, or my boss yelled at me. Yeah. Like that's the kind of energy. And the sad thing is, this is the kind of energy where the narcissist empath, I didn't even realize that. Wow, Spirit. So Spirit's saying, they're probably gonna have me post something about that. Right now, there's this thing with the narcissist empath that's going on with this full moon in Cancer, because this is the the Cancer. Drink some water, stay hydrated. Thank you, Spirit. And they said they really mean it. Even if you have to pause it. I mean, if you're somewhere where you can't, that's fine. But like, do your best to seriously pause it and take care of yourself. Because this is the year of getting your health back. Because if we don't, how do you fight? When warriors go into battle, why do you think they're always practicing? They're always sparring each other. They're always, you know, getting better and getting better. And they're like, why are they always like, why do they look like they're always fighting? It's like, because they may not fight a war for 3 or 5 years, but they better be fucking ready. If they join the army and then they just sit around for 5 years and then another fucking army comes in that's been training for years, who do you think's going to win? You know, especially if there's weapons involved, right? So, I mean, somebody could be a sharpshooter. I guess you look at that side. Somebody could not move at all and be the best sharpshooter ever. Be like, I'll just get them off from 100 yards. But you know what I'm saying, right? So there's this kind of energy that's happening around this full moon in Cancer, and it's the time to really release and let go. And the deer energy is saying, use gentleness, be very gentle with yourself during this time. The wounded healer, I'm hearing, right? We have a lot of wounded healers here, but also use diplomacy. You know, say you have two kids and one of your kids is super sensitive and your other kid is just not. And you're like, I don't know why they're so different. Well, they just are, right? And they are. And that's why they agree to be siblings, to learn from each other. However, sometimes that other sibling can be really mean and really awful. And, you know, it's like the parent has to come in and say, hey, that is your sister, that is your brother, that is your sibling, that is your, you know, don't treat them that way. I know you don't understand it, but they're having a rough time right now, right? Sometimes you have to use diplomacy. You have to go in. So maybe it's your boss or maybe even your relationship. So I'm hearing that. Also, I'm hearing work with, for some of you, your kitchen witches, you already know this, or maybe it's just something you've always been interested in, but I'm hearing for the winter, take some time, you know, maybe do this with somebody you love, maybe do this with your kids. I am getting more kid energy here than I've had in any readings in a long time, so maybe this is something for even just one person. But I'm hearing you can still do gardening and fun things with your children in the wintertime if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and live in a cold state or a cold country. I would definitely use that energy to go and get lavender seeds or, you know, and be like, hey, let's do starters for when the spring comes and we can, you know, that'll give them something to do, you know, when they come home from school or when they have a break or if it's a few snow days, it's like, oh, let's go play, you know, in our, you know, and there's a lot of things that you can get online that are not that expensive, like, you know, lights to give them the heat or whatever if you live in a cold climate or, you know, if whatever your situation is. I'm just hearing like give them something. Maybe you like to cook with them, so go and buy lavender or go and buy dill or spearmint and like bake and like make something with it or cook. Or but I'm just hearing that, and it doesn't, and I also just heard too, it doesn't have to be kids. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe in the wintertime you and your partner start to get a little stagnant, right? And you're feeling a little stale in your relationship. So Spirit's saying instead of feeding into that and just like laying on the couch constantly and just eating shitty food and feeling more shitty, and then the warm weather rolls around and you're like, oh man, I don't want to go outside, and then you start the cycle. They're like, what if you instead, like, you know, or have like a walk routine or just something, doesn't even have to be a routine, but when you're feeling like the lumps, I just heard, right, or the mumps, the mopes, whenever you're feeling that kind of energy, to just kind of twist it around and look at it dead on and say, you know what, not today, Satan. You know that old saying, like, not today, right? Like, not today. I'm not going to feed into that darkness. I'm not going to feed into that shadow. Now listen, if you need to have a good cry around this Cancer moon, fuck yeah, do it. But I'm saying, like, you know, soon after that, we only have, while I'm recording this right now, we only have 17 days until it goes into the year of the snake. So use the strength of the dragons to make those big changes that you need to make, even if it's just one step, you know, maybe just go buy the seeds, right? Order the seeds online. Just make sure you get, like, try and get heirloom seeds if you can. Organic is great, but heirloom means that it's like, it's naturally organic. Heirloom means that, like, it's been with the same family who's never used pesticides, never used, you know what I mean? Nowadays they say heirloom is just like if it's been in the family. But when I was growing up, heirloom meant like they were like the cream of the crop. You know, they really tended to their, you know, vegetables and their fruits. And we're getting more into that now, you know, where people are growing their own food and taking care of themselves, sustainability. And maybe that's what the accountability is for you. Maybe that's something you've been thinking about, or maybe you're a leader in this field and you really need to amp it up, or maybe you've been thinking about being a leader in this field. The world is changing. When you put something out that says, let's make something blah, blah, blah again, right? Why do you want to make it again? It's already what it was. We're going to continue to keep growing and improve it. We're not going to go back to some world, this archaic, you know, whatever. It's a bunch of bullshit. You know, no matter what happens, the world will get tilted on its axis for a minute and there's going to be some shakes and surprises. But then you know what's going to happen? It's going to hit rock bottom. It's going to be really ugly. And then everything's going to come back. And that's why people have been growing their food. And that's why people have been taking care of themselves. And that's why people have been fighting. That's why there have been marches. And it's been decades now of us pushing back the machine and saying, nope, nope, nope. And maybe it's time for you, and this could be for one, this could be for many, but maybe it's time for you to stand up to the machine and look at it and say, no more. I don't want to be a part of this. This isn't part of me. This isn't blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, however you want to do it, whatever you need to do. But my eyes keep going to lavender too. So some of you, like, you need that calming energy. Please, with all that is holy, only use real lavender though. And again, without pesticides or toxic chemicals. It does make a difference. I do not care what anyone says. It does make a difference. I hated lavender for my almost, I would say the first almost 40 years of my life, hated lavender. One of my dear friends loved it. It drove me nuts. I always felt sick to my stomach when she had it, and I was like, I don't understand. Or sometimes she'd smell good, and I'd be like, oh, that's nice, and she's like, it's lavender, and she's like, you hate lavender. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, some of the stuff you get I like, and some of it I don't. Well, now it makes sense because she probably most likely was using a lot of lavender scented things. And when something is not the original thing of it, yeah, you can trick fucking the brain into believing that it's lavender, but it's not lavender. Lavender, actually, the real lavender flower has healing properties that are unimaginable to most people that don't know anything about it. Please plant some lavender. Get yourself some lavender. You can eat lavender. You can make it into tinctures. The thing I love the most about lavender oil is if you have a cut or a bruise, lavender oil and frankincense oil and tea tree oil, those three are like, if you have those oils in your arsenal, you are pretty much good to go. Now, there are even lemongrass, which is your like your energy that's in this reading. Even lemongrass is another one that's like super fucking powerful. That's why they use a lot of lemongrass. They burn it in ceremonies and rituals. You know, you eat lemongrass. I said this in one of the other readings. I literally made, I didn't even know why, but I was drawn to lemongrass soup this week, and I had lemongrass and ginger soup yesterday. It was so fucking good with good. I'm like, my accents are coming out from my past lives. With heirloom noodles and cabbage. I just made cabbage, heirloom noodles, ginger, and lemongrass, and then of course I put in nutritional yeast and some garlic and like all that, you know, and olive oil and things to make a soup. But like my essentials were those healing things, and Spirit has really been leaning me towards these. Lots of ginger lately, lots of lavender, lemongrass, lemons in general. I actually made the other day, I didn't know I was doing it, but I was making a mirepoix, which is like a base of like soup and cooking. The original mirepoix is carrots, ginger, excuse me, carrots, celery, and onions. But I kind of made my own mirepoix, which was ginger. I chopped up a bunch of fresh ginger and fresh lemons. I cleaned the, I just shucked the ginger a little bit, but I didn't like, you know, cut it and whatever. It was, you could do it any way you want, but I just cut it in chunks, and then I, with the skin on, and then I, you know, washed the lemon good and cut up the lemon with the skin on, and I put the lemon in the ginger, and I squeezed the lemon all over the ginger in like a cup, and then I threw the whole lemons in there, and I kept twisting the rinds, you know, before, actually I twisted the rinds too before I did that, so it would like really open up. You really want to twist the rinds on the fruits like that, because like oranges, lemons, citrus, that kind of, limes, because that's where your essence is. That's where a lot of the oils come from. So if you can't get essential oils, at least get your grocery store. And I'm telling you, especially in the wintertime, those fruits and vegetables can just awaken your senses to like a whole other level. So work with that, work with that, work with that. But yeah, so I left the ginger and I left the lemon for a few days, like in a cup. I just kept going, you know, or actually, no, excuse me. I put them together. Then I put some water in it, not super full, but just enough to cover them, you know, so that they were like in there and saturated. And I left that for like 24 hours. And then I kind of mashed it up all together. And like for like 3 days, and you don't have to put it in the refrigerator. Just make sure that it's covered and away from like the heat and stuff. And room temperature is the best. And then I just muddled it, and then for like 3 days, and then I kept adding water to it, and I didn't know what I was doing. I thought maybe I was making some type of like tincture or like a drink or something. I thought that's what I was doing. Dude, I ended up making like the best fucking base for a soup. It was so good. It was like lemon and ginger, and like my whole senses like opened up, my chest. It was like so good. So maybe this is for somebody. Maybe you're meant to cook, or maybe you're just meant to, even just for yourself, just like get back to like those essences. You know, the way things have been going, a lot of us have been turning to like our comforts, our comfort foods, our comfort drinks, our comfort whatever, but realizing even in the organic form, certain things, they're just not good for us as light workers. Our bodies really do thrive better on real food, on real things. So that's why I push you guys so much to get away from like these toxic things. I'm not saying that like you're toxic. I'm just saying the thing that you're putting on you, even if it smells really good, I get it. This lady walked by me the other day and I was like, oh my God, that smells so good. She's like, oh yeah, it's like Paris Hilton something. And I'm like, Paris Hilton. Like, no offense to Paris, but I'm pretty sure she's, I don't know if it was a new one, an old one, or whatever. But either way, I was just kind of like, you know what I mean? It was like a that kind of thing, where I'm pretty sure it's got at least some chemicals in it. But I could be wrong. Maybe Paris has a real line that whatever. But she smelled nice, So who knows? But for the most part, usually when something, even if it smells good, there's always something that gives me a headache, or like I can feel it in like my chest, or like my energy field just feels like wrong, like that was made in like a factory or like in a chemical lab. Which not all things made in factories or chemical labs are bad. It's just that when you mix certain things to try and make something, it's like, no, but you need the essence of the lemon. Do you know what I mean? Like, not just lemon scented. I tend to get like unscented, like no bleach, like whatever, like unfiltered, like soaps and things like that. And then what I do is then I put my own oils, like I put my own essential oils in there, and then I can make my dish soap smell any way I want it to. You can make your own essential oils with things like that. I don't think you can put, you'd have to research it, but I bet you could put lemon rinds in you'd have to, what I would think is you'd probably have to do the lemon rinds and research it, but I would imagine that you'd probably have to pull all the pulp out, like really scrape it out so you're almost down to the rind, and then dry the rind out. And then when the rind's really dry, you could probably put pieces of it in your dish soap. I would think so, because it has a natural antibacterial property, the skin. But you just don't want to put the flesh in there. That might, like, I don't know. But you hear what I'm saying? So, like, there's ways to, like, make your house and your life better. And when you go to use those soaps or go to use those things, you get that effervescence where you start to feel better. And I definitely feel like in this group, there are some of you that, like, winter is not your friend. And I get it. I have been going through the glooms and the glumps myself, the mopes. It has been one of the, like, hardest years of my life. But at the same time, I am confronting old demons and ghosts, and I'm laying them to rest. And my ancestors have been coming in, and we're going to segue to that right now. Because when I put this together and I saw heritage, I kept seeing ancestors. So I feel like for you guys, you got you chose the heritage rune, and you chose lemongrass. So I feel like as far as the ancestor, and now of course we know you chose the deer, gentleness, diplomacy. I feel like the ancestors are saying to you, it's time for you to use your gentleness and your diplomacy to help heal the planet. Not just yourself, not just the people around you, but the planet. Maybe it's time to start your own blog, your own channel, your own podcast. Maybe it's time to step up and be the matriarch, patriarch, whatever, terminology feels good to you in your family, where you're like, you know what, you can eat what you want, but this is what I'm going to make in this house. I had a friend of mine that I remember I lived far away, and I came to visit, and she invited me over for dinner. Hold on, I want to make sure Bubba's okay. You okay, buddy? Okay. And we walked in. I go, what smells so good? And I said, what are you guys making for dinner? And I come around the corner, and she got this big, gorgeous, beautiful kitchen. And I see her daughter's making one meal for her and her little brother. Her husband is making another meal for, I don't know if he was making it for us, or I think, yeah, he was making like a big meal for everybody kind of thing. You can eat it or not eat it. And I just was like, oh my gosh, it was so cute. And then her other son was in there, and he was helping. But anyway, long story short, I said, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm like, what's going on? And I said, are you guys all cooking? I'm like, this is so cute. I'm like, I feel like I need a camera. I'm like, this is like the cutest moment. She's like, well, yeah. She's like, so these two are vegetarian. She's like, this one's a carnivore. This one, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I used to make separate meals until they got older. And I was like, you guys can cook for yourself. So it was actually really cute, and it was really refreshing, because, she just kind of laid down the law. She's like, I'm not a fucking short order cook. I have a job too. I can't cook 3 different meals at once. If you want separate things, then we have to so even the shopping, everything was like, this was their food, this was their food, and everybody was okay to share, but it was like, obviously, never leave the vegetarians like hanging, you know what I mean? Like the meat eaters can eat anything, but the vegetarians can't eat meat. And so it may be something like that too, where you need to change in the household and be like, I want to get really serious about how I eat, and this is how I'm going to cook. So I'll cook for everybody, but this is what we're going to eat in this house now. Hold on, I had the windows open. I'm going to turn the heater back on. So it might be something like that for you guys too, where it's time for like other people, like the diplomacy coming in again too, where you're like, hey, this isn't, I've got a life. I've got things. So here is what, I don't know why, but I was drawn to look up like the actual meaning of the word heritage, even though I know that it is like a derivative of like ancestors and blah, blah, blah. So this is what they wanted me to read to you. So somebody must have needed this. So in the dictionary on Google, it says, property that is or may be inherited, an inheritance. So it could be that some of you guys are getting a literal inheritance from somebody, but it also could be that it's time for you guys to open yourselves up and like change, like maybe you need to change like everything, to step into who you really are and not who you were, so that you can become the, like your ancestors, right? Like maybe you're going to be inheriting like, a sixth sense, or you know what I mean, or like maybe some type of gift that you've always wanted to explore that grandma or grandpa were really good at, and you're like, I want to do this, and your parents are like, no, you have to, we put you through law school, you're not quitting that job to make chairs, and you're like, grandpa made chairs, I want to do what grandpa did. So it could be something like that, like where you're inheriting a gift, a skill. It could be that you're going to start stepping into like a certain part of your witchcraft or your artistry, something like that. So that was the first one that came up. Then the next one said, valued objects and qualities such as cultural traditions, unspoiled countryside, and historic buildings that have been passed down from previous generations. So that is interesting, right? Like I found that super fucking interesting. So that could be like a message to somebody too. Like if it's not your medicine, it's not your medicine, and let it fly by. But for some of you, you know what I mean? Like if you're in the middle of something right now with something that's going on, like I know I'm going through something, my mom just passed, and it's like, it's been like my gifts have changed so much since my mom died. Like so many things have happened, and now that all of my parents have crossed over, my grandparents, it's like I've been seeing things from like a whole different perspective, a whole different light. My inheritance has been so grand, and there's more to come. Like I can feel it from my mom. Like I can really, really feel this energy from my mom. She's almost like, she's so powerful. It's like, she's like, we're just going to keep letting it come out bit by bit by bit. Okay. So those messages. Then, in the archaic, which they want me to say this, in the archaic version, it meant a special or individual possession, an allotted portion. So I don't know if that means anything for you guys. And then it says the Christians or the ancient Israelites seen as God's chosen people, which is ironic because yes, but not if you're the Christian that's like, oh, you're gay? Oh, I'll pray for you. You're going to hell. No, the real like people who like believe like that Jesus loved everybody and that there was no, you know what I mean, that we come from love and there is no, it's like they're the funny thing is like they were all saying to me like, oh, you're going to be in a rude awakening when you die. And I'm like, so are you. Like, meaning like nothing's going to happen to either of us. So like, you're just going to see what this was and the lesson of religion and all that. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. It's all good. We're all God's chosen people. It's like we are one. We are all love. Okay, so there was that, but then listen to this. So this one, I don't know if it's for one, for all. Get some water, drink some water. Also, I'm hearing frogs croaking outside. Oh, it's an airplane. Ooh, somebody going on a trip. I see the airplane and it is going in the direction of south. It kind of looks like it's going southwest. So if that means anything to anybody, so if your eyes just got really big and you're like, holy shit, I've been thinking about moving to the southwest. It could be just south because it was just south first. And then I heard southwest. So it could be one, could be both. Okay, so this says, something that is handed down from the past as a tradition, a national heritage of honor, pride, and courage. Something that comes or belongs to one by reason of birth, an inherited lot or portion, a heritage of poverty and suffering. So again, I'm not sure who this is for, but I will say this. in reading one, courage was one of the key words on the card. I remember because I have coraggio in Italian, courage, on my shoulder. And so that really stuck out to me. But interesting that it says national heritage of honor, pride, and courage. So it could even be that, like, maybe for some of you, your ancestors, your heritage, you're like, maybe your parents are like, first generation, and when they came here they were told to be proud Americans, so they stopped practicing your heritage, your traditions. Ooh, I just got the chills. But like, the whole point of why they were meant to come here, like, how I know because I'm American and I'm 53, so I've seen a lot of shit, and I mean shit, like, where it's like 1 minute it's this, the next minute it's that. It's like, oh, come to our country, yes, well, but now it's like, oh no, there's too many of you, leave. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're the ones that are being corrupted, but we're going to blame it on your race, your country, because God forbid we have any accountability, right? What are your keywords? You got accountability and gentleness, right? So that's very interesting. So I feel like for some of you, it's like, no, bring it back. Bring back your proud. On Lula's Labyrinth, my other channel, I had this thing that I had to post because this woman was talking about being Choctaw, Palestinian, Mexican, and I forgot the other thing. And she's a witch. So she's like, imagine, she goes, so I have hair on my face that grows on my face. I'm not going to shave to make other people feel comfortable. She's like, that's part of me. She's like, sometimes I take it off, sometimes I don't. She's like, and it was just really, 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 really powerful. And she said, I have been trying to fit into boxes my whole life. Now I just put it all out there and I don't give a shit. And she dresses in like these really cool outfits and she's just really awesome. And that's what we're going to see more of. But that's the thing that they don't want us, because the individuality means freedom, and individuality means that they can't control us. So, it's time to step out of that shadow and step out of, and I feel like your ancestors are like, look back to your heritage. Like maybe you're like having a hard time like figuring out, who you are or what's going on or where you're going or whatever, and they're like, maybe look into your heritage, look at both sides of your family, start researching your family tree, be like, I want to know more, I want to find out more, I want to know who's this, blah blah blah. That's why I love that show, Finding Your Roots, like all those shows like that, because people find out like who they really are, and it's very empowering. Even if you find out something really rough, like, I mean, I remember one time, I don't remember when it was or how it was, I just remember it was a needle across the record moment, because my grandma was really famous for that. She was super outspoken. She's one of my favorite humans. Like, when she died when I was young, I mean, it was just, she'll be gone 25 years this year, so I think I was 27, and I was just so fucking like devastated, because she was the type that like my family just swept everything under the rug, but then my grandma would just like throw something out, and I don't know what the conversation was, but my grandma goes, we had slaves. I'm like, what? Everybody was just like, what, Grandma? Like, and I come from two very large families. My dad was one of 8, my mom was one of 6, and lots of kids and grandkids and shit. But my grandma just was like, very matter of fact, she's like, yeah, I'm almost positive of it, that there were slaves. And she's like, well, my family is from Arkansas, and, we're from the South. And yeah, she's like, it was just like a normal part of life. I'm not saying I'm okay with it, that it was okay. I just, it's not a proud moment, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you just never know. I mean, another time she said that she had somebody in her family said that we came from French royalty, and she made a funny joke like, yeah, I am the queen, or I always feel like the queen, or something like that. But so it's like, we don't really know like where our heritage is. And it's like, so if you're taking on an identity that was given to you by your parents or your teachers or your friends or your boss or whatever, it's like, what is your identity? If you, like myself, I grew up in the South Side of Chicago, but I was absolutely positively obsessed with the Asian culture, and I did not know why. But then when I started to research my past lives, like, I had this one time that this really happened, I shit you not, this really happened, where a bunch of stuff fell. I was going through this past life thing with one of my shamans, and certain parts of my past lives were showing up in the most obscure, bizarre ways. So in that particular time, I went to open a cabinet and a bunch of shit went flying out. I was in the midst of chopping vegetables in my tiny home, and it was in a very small space. I mean, it was so small. I shit you not, you guys. It literally happened so fast that when it happened, I was like, why is there no one here to see this? But I somehow, within seconds, caught everything. And then I was standing, kind of balancing on one foot while it was so fucking weird. And I used to make jokes that I was a samurai, that I was like, I think I was a samurai in another life, man. I'm like, because people would be like, you're so stealthy, or they'd be like, oh, you scared me, I didn't even hear it. Either I was coming in totally ungrounded like a fucking bull in a china shop, or I was like coming in super like sly, stealthy, and grounded. And people are like, oh, you're like a vampire, where did you come from? You know, because I'd come up for like really stealthy. I was literally like one or the other usually. But it was such a crazy moment that I was like, how did I do that? Like, no one ever taught me how to do that. It's not like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was, that kid that tried, martial arts or whatever. And I've learned a few moves here and there. And I've seen movies and loved the Karate Kid show and the movie and all that, right? But no, this was like instinct. This was like, it happened and I was like, and when I set everything, and it wasn't like 2 things fell. It was like 6 things fell, but somehow I like caught them all, and like I was still holding the knife, and like I was like bouncing on one foot while the other foot was like holding this like really heavy, like beautiful, bowl that fell out when the other things fell out. You know what I mean? And it was just, and nothing broke. It was crazy. It was crazy. Another time I was dancing and I started doing these moves and these dances, and I was like I was a prima ballerina, and I felt it, and I was like, I was a prima ballerina, man. I can feel it. In some life I was some type of like dancer, or like I had this kind of gift or skill. So never doubt, like, the heritage is you. It's not just your ancestors, which they are there, like behind you going, we got you, we got you, we got you. And let me tell you this, I forgot to tell you this. This is almost the most important thing, and I almost forgot to tell you. When I started your reading, I literally saw them all coming in one by one by one by one by one by one by one. Like it went from looking like somewhere in like the Mayan temples where like all of the soldiers were dressed the same, and like it was like really cool. Then they turned into like ancient Egyptian like soldiers, to like, then they turned into like native, like, kind of like indigenous Peruvian, whatever. Then it went into kind of like this like the Americas native, indigenous. It was so wild. So I definitely feel like you guys they just want you to know that there are like oceans and oceans and oceans of warriors that are standing like above you, below you, behind you, you know what I mean? Like in front of you, like protecting you, pushing you forward. You are not alone. And that was like the main thing that they wanted you to know, is that you are not alone. So I think that's it for you guys. Because I looked and I was like, 3 hours. I'm like, no wonder why I was like starting to lose my voice. But no, you see it's back now. No, that was cool. That was something else coming in. Do we have any more messages or any more channeling for reading 2? Do we have any other messages, Spirit? Any other family or ancestors that want to come through? Nope, that's it. Oh, thank you so much for being here, you guys. And as always, all of my information is on this channel. You just click on the very top of my channel at the home channel where it says welcome witches, healers, and deep down believers. So if you click that, it's got all of my information. I do have an Amazon wish list if you would like to donate anything to the tribe, from candles, oracle decks, tarot decks. I do not know if they're going to have me put more stuff, but I've been feeling that from Spirit. If you would like to, I have a Venmo. I do not have my PayPal on there, but for my international people, if you want to, just email me there, magicalmedium@gmail.com, and I'll send it to you. For some reason, they had me take it off, and I do not know why, but I don't question it. There's always a reason. Okay, so there's that. And my last thing is, if you haven't heard this already, I am doing a new segment on the Magical Medium channel where I will be performing channeling sessions for people who would like to speak with their loved ones who've crossed over, or if they are looking for answers from their ancestors. Okay, so if you would like to do this, it's free. And how it's free for you is the exchange of energy, is that I get to put it on the channel. It'll be like this. We will not see your face. We don't even have to use your name. You can have your anonymity. You can go incognito, however you want to do it. But we are not, unless you really wanted to do a Zoom and Spirit like pulled us to, record it that way, fine. But what we would do is, it would be over phone or video chat, but we would have no screen, and it would be, you know what I mean, like we would block out our screens so that we can't see each other. But the phone is usually the best. But if you're out of the country, obviously it would be better for Zoom, or which I have an account, and we can set one up together, or we can do it through. Or you know what we could do too? Actually, this just came through. So if you don't want to do it that way, ooh, what we could do is you can actually give me your name and the questions that you want to ask the ancestors, and then I can record it, and I don't have to use names or anything. And then, ooh, that's good. That's good, Spirit. That hasn't come till now. So maybe that's for some of you that are like, I don't really want to like talk to you, but like, or it could be like maybe you're in a country or I'm in a place where we can't sync up like that. So then what I would do is I would get you would email me at Magical Medium, it's on there, magicalmedium@gmail.com, and always remember the K, okay? Because I spell it the old English way, magical with a K. And reach out. And for some reason, if I don't respond to you, I will definitely respond to you. So if I don't respond within like a few days, a week, a month, then you can even put on the comments like, hey, Lula, I sent you an email. I may not have gotten it, because that's happened before too. And then I go back and people are like, oh, I put in the wrong, I put in magic without the K. I'm like, yeah. So, but that's the whole purpose of it, right? Like it goes where it's supposed to go. So that is your little like ending message. But if you would like to, it's free for you as the exchange of energy for putting it up on my channel, because people really do like those and they love that. So it's going to turn into like kind of like a TV show, like Tyler Henry. It's likened to Tyler Henry, but he has his own show and his style, and it'll be my own show and my own style, like, however we want to do it. Okay? All right, so that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take good care of yourselves and each other. I love you so much. Blessed be. Aho. Bye. Welcome, reading 3. So when I looked up to hit the pause button, it was 3 minutes and 13 seconds and 3 hours, 13 minutes and 54 seconds. And I literally saw March 13th, 25. So just to start this out, like that is going to be a message for at least one person, that date is going to be very significant. If not that date, something around that date. And since I do have my trusty dusty calendar right here, and because I had no idea that was going to, I literally was starting a completely different segue to your reading, which is so funny. Also, the Lemurian crystal wants to work with you, and so does the lapis lazuli, and all the other readings. Even though I brought stuff in, this is the first one that those were called out right away. So please do yourself a favor and work with lapis lazuli and the Lemurian crystal. If not, if you don't have those, or if you don't have the means to have those, you can still work with those energies without actually holding them in your hand. You can call in the energies of them, and you can research them and see what they're trying to tell you. But I definitely felt that this reading, you are from Lemuria. Like, you are Lemurians. I don't know if all of you are, but I just feel like, because when I said that, it felt, at first I was like, oh yeah, like get yourself a crystal. Sorry, I'm adjusting my pillow. But then it felt very different. Like all of a sudden I felt like, no. Like it felt like it was for plural, so it's definitely for more than one person. So we could have a lot of different Lemurians here. I know it's in a podcast format and I could do it black, but I kind of liked this color thing that was going on. And when I move around, it's been showing like the shadow and the light. It's been really cool. Ra has been blessing me today. I needed this sunshine like you don't even know. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and when it's just day after day after day after day after day of rain, and it's like there's some days, like weeks, where you literally don't see the sun. And well, I can't say we anymore. Well, I guess we, me and Bubba, we live in the Sun Belt. And so if it's that way here, a lot of times that means it's even worse in other places. So I'm glad that we, but anyway, so the last few days, it's been nice. It's been like 47, 50 degrees and sunny. And it's like, it feels like spring. It's so nice. So anyway, those little messages are for somebody. And I will look at the calendar right now. Also, in real time, welcome. It is the 111 portal when I'm recording this reading. We're 17 days, which is also the number 8, which is also the number that aligns with the dragon energy. And most of 2024 was the dragon energy, the number 8. So in 17 days, we're going to be going into the new moon Aquarius and transferring over into the year of the snake. So that's those are the things I want to talk about. Also, be kind and gentle with yourself. We're a few days, if you watch this in real time, we're a few days away from the full moon in Cancer. By the time you watch this, we're going to be deep in it, I'm sure, because they're either going to have me post this tomorrow or Monday on Moon Day, because I mean, it's a moon day. It's a full moon on a moon day on the 13th, and a full moon in Cancer. I mean, that's like, there's going to be some heavy emotions, you know, passive aggressive behavior. Just like keep it clean, man. Keep it clean. Take the high road. That's going to be my advice for everybody, is take the high road. So March 13th, oh shit, you guys, March 13th is a full moon too, which is really interesting because it's the week before spring equinox. And for those of you equinox, bleh, I've been talking for hours. I'm starting to lose my shit. Sorry. I know, I'm like, I was starting to lose my voice in the second one. But just a few days before that is the daylight savings time for those who use that. So that's interesting. We spring ahead, you lose an hour. So that's going to be interesting. Whenever we have a daylight savings time in a week of a full moon, I'm always like, man. And you know what? I don't know if I'm right, but I think that I was going to write it in my calendar, but I forgot. That might be during the Mercury retrograde. Oh, so maybe that's just, so just keep March 13th, not like in a beacon of like, you know, fear. If anything, put it as a beacon of light. You know what I mean? Like something, I just feel like something's going to happen, and we'll see what else comes out in the reading. But I have to tell you, when I started putting this reading together, the first thing that came to me was the white feather. So I thought, I for it to be the last reading is kind of interesting because it's the first thing I found. Not only that, just now when I was petting the feather, a piece fell off. So I feel like you guys are really tired. This is one of, I have a lot of white feathers, but this one's kind of like broke down, busted, like the wings kind of like broken a little bit, but it's still hanging on. So I feel like that's your energy. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I just watched the movie Michael with John Travolta. It's free on YouTube right now, and I forgot how good it really is and how good John Travolta is at Archangel Michael. He's so good. He actually played him in such a subtle way that I was like, that's kind of how I feel like Michael would be. So it's at least as a human. But you know, there's like the one part where like his feathers start shedding or whatever. That's what's happening right now. And in fact, I almost feel like I want to take a picture of it. Now there's like 3 pieces of the feather and it's now shredded. So in the community section, I'm going to take a picture of a beautiful card that was sent to me by one of our tribe members, Anna, and it says write your book, and it has a white feather on it. So I was drawn to put this with your pile, and I think it's interesting that the white feather and destiny were your reading titles, and then this came in after. And wait till you see the picture. It literally says write your book and has a white feather on it. When it was all coming together, I was like, oh my gosh. So the fact that you chose 3, the white feather, destiny, I feel like at least some of you are meant to write a book. And on the back of this, it says, you, if you don't feel like that's your calling, maybe you love making jewelry, you know, whatever, but this is you. It says, you are a very old soul. You're a great poet, and your writing is so beautiful. Begin today and write your book. Heal with each page. Recall all the amazing miracles and challenges you have faced and conquered in this, your book of life. Get started today and enjoy the thoughts that make you who you are. So this came into reading 1 as well. Ironically, I don't know if it's ironically, but interestingly enough, this came in for you for reading 3 under Destiny and the White Feather. And then when I was doing reading 1, hold on, this card just fell out, and I just want to make sure if it is or isn't for you. And then I was pulled to pull it from your reading and read it and read the same thing. So Spirit goes into great detail of ways to write your book if you're somebody who's looking to write a book. Actually, there's a lot of great, if you feel like this, if you're drawn, or reboot, boop, boop, bloop, bloop, bloop. If you were pulled to reading 1 and reading 3, I highly recommend you go and watch it after this, because I have a feeling they're going to have a lot of aligned messages. But whenever they break them apart like that, especially when they have 1 and 3, like it could have been number 2 and just ran together, but it was like, no, there's like a break in between, you know? So I feel like that's kind of like where you guys are right now. You're like in a break in between. And so take some time. Don't just hear this reading and run amok, you know, like really think about it. Like, you know, maybe you have been thinking about it. Maybe you already know what you want to write. I'm pretty sure this is your card. So you pulled the Death card. We're working with the Wisdom of the Avalon Oracle cards. They wanted to come in, and they have different sections and segments of the deck. And this one comes from the Sacred Journey markers. It's number 46, which is really interesting because that has been coming up a lot lately, the number 46, which is also the number 10, which is completion. So this could be an age for some of you. This could be a number that's significant for you. It could be the year you were born, 1946. You could be in your 70s. We do have, I was actually really interested to see that the demographic on both my channels, Lilith's Labyrinth and The Magical Medium, are from like 22 to like 80. Which I really took as such a interesting and cool compliment, because not compliment like, ew, I'm so cool, but like compliment to like what we're doing here. Like we're ageless, you know what I mean? Like this medicine is like, we're all, and there's a lot of people, I've worked with a lot of elders, you know, I'm a crone myself. I'm at the beginning of my crone, I'm 53, but there are a lot of elders that I have worked with and read for that were just waking up, you know, and because they had the wisdom and knowledge of like always like being their cool, awesome selves, they really went into their gifts quickly. I've seen elders who were like, you know, scrounging for change, could barely live off of like Social Security, like go into like, bam, oh my gosh, I took a Reiki class, didn't I tell you? Oh yeah, and I got an apartment, I'm doing really good now. And you know what I mean? Like that was their gift, that was like their thing. So, you know, it's like sometimes, you know, my job is just here to drop the breadcrumbs. I'm here to connect you to your thoughts, your desires, your wants, your dreams. This was the only pile that I really felt dreams, you know, like destiny, like what's my dream, mama? What's my destiny? And I feel like for a lot of you, you know what your destiny is, but you're in a death process. When the card fell out, it was upside down. I will take pictures of these if I'm pulled to and put them in the community section. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there and a lot of links in the description box to a lot of things that Spirit wanted us to look at, or things that were connected to other videos. Okay. So check those out as well. But the Death card in reverse is also rebirth. So I feel like for some of you guys, this is going to be a really pivotal time when, you know, we go from the year of the dragon to the year of the snake, and the snake is all about shedding our skin, rebirth, you know, it's about fertility. So I feel like March 13th is going to be significant for you guys, because there's going to be some time right before spring, or in the, you know, and maybe they're saying like it's almost like halfway through the month, you know, too. So it could be even like something around that time that there's going to be something sprouting for you. And if any of you are drawn to reading too, we spoke of like growing and farming and lavender and like healing ourselves and healing ourselves through food. That was a really, really cool reading. So if that's something you're interested, you may want to check out reading 2 as well. And for those of you who want a little more in-depth knowledge and wisdom to what's going on all over, you may want to watch at the very beginning of this. It was very long. I was very surprised because, you know, I've got all these to do as well. But we did a really intense reading for the tribe. So we did on New Year's Eve, Spirit and I put together this really cool reading with the runes that was on the shorts. And then we did the first quarter moon reading and kind of catching up and telling you about the changes on the channel that are coming up and blah, blah, blah. It was a really long one, but another one, a lot of medicine. It was a lot about my personal stuff, but I think a lot of people are going through what I'm going through. So there was that, and then this. So I feel like all 3 of them are somehow kind of connected, almost like a journey that we're going on together. And I don't know if they're going to have me keep doing this or if that was just like a one-off with the beginning of the year, but you may want to just check those out. I'll be putting those links in there as well. So for you guys, I definitely feel like you're like scratching at the surface of your destiny. Do not fucking give up. Do not give up. And when you want to give up, you think about me saying this to you. You think about me saying, I love you. I believe in you. Do not give up. Get up. I'm here with you. I am holding you. I got you. And when you feel alone, reach out. Reach out to me, reach out to community, reach out. Reach out. If you're brave and you want to put your comments on here, we will always, there are a handful of us that definitely look at the comments all the time. So if I don't respond right away, usually one of our other tribe members will. So if you're feeling low or you're feeling, you know what I mean? Like, we got you. You are not in this alone. And this death rebirth is bringing us to our destiny, you guys. It doesn't surprise me now that this is the culmination of this big ass fucking awesome adventure that started on, because it stretched over, because it really started in 2024 and it stretched over. I want to do, what's so funny is actually, this is the first time I'm really, in this reading at the end of this is when I'm finally figuring it out, because it's hitting me in this moment in real time with you. But last year, just a few weeks ago, at the end of the year, I said, I want to do something really special for the tribe. Like, I want to do some cool readings. I'm like, there's the new moon, like, and like the new year and all that's happening at the same time. I'm like, it's a dark moon. I'm like, let's do something really fucking cool. I want to do something really cool. They had me post old readings. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, it's your, and like angel numbers and all that. I'm like, I get it. Which also, we were drawn to watch the readings. If you go on my channel, you'll see I posted a bunch of angel readings recently. And of course, everybody flocks to the 1111. But the 1155, there's some good pearls in there. If you're drawn to it, if you're not, let it bypass you. It's not your medicine. But I was drawn to say that again because that came up in one of the other readings as well. So listen, this is what is so exciting, is that that's what this has been. It started on the new year with me doing that shorts, and I'm going to connect them all together so people can follow the breadcrumbs, because I really believe these readings are super special. And, Anna is so special to me. She's so special to this tribe. She has given so much to this channel and to this tribe. It's unbelievable. I'm so grateful, Anna. Thank you so much. I don't know if you'll watch this reading, but we all love you and respect you and appreciate you. So many of the tools that we have used in these readings over many, 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 many years has been from Anna, whether she made them herself, or she sought them out, or they were brought to her. There are just so many things, so many decks. I mean, I love it. I love when her boxes come. It's like so super exciting. So if you look, you'll see the link in the description box, but in the shorts, that's when I started pulling the runes when we started this journey together. And it's from the deck that she made out of shells that she collected herself over the UK, like over the beaches of England. I don't know if she got them in Scotland. I forgot to ask her. I think she said it in the card, and I packed her card away now. But anyway, it matters because it's awesome, but it's like, I don't have to know it for the story, but I always like details like that for the story. I'm like, oh, from Scotland too? But if not, she was like something like they were from all over England, Did I say London? From the oceans in London. Oh, I'm really tired. That would be the times. But anyway, I digress. My beautiful, beautiful reading 3. So death is on the menu for you, and that's okay, because death is going to bring a rebirth, and the rebirth is going to be so great. And if you keep following these breadcrumbs, just remember this: nothing lasts forever. In the group reading, I had a fucking meltdown. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was crying about the LA fires because that was my first home away from home. I grew up in the Chicagoland area and left when I was 23 and moved to Los Angeles, and it was my home. I remember when I was leaving, and one of my best friends, my first husband, he said, we were sitting on his roof. He lived in the Sunset. He lived in these apartments that like a lot of famous people lived in. He did very well for himself. He worked in politics, and he worked for a Republican. And I just had to throw that in there because that's where all the money was when I was living there. I'm sure it still is. But we went to his rooftop because he was still trying to beg me one more time not to leave. He's like, this is your home. He's like, because we grew up in Chicago together, and he moved there first, and then I moved there like a year later, and we were so tight, and I miss him so much. But we had like this great night. We were just like drank and smoked weed and cigarettes and sat on his roof and just looked. His view was amazing from the Hollywood sign to the ocean, kind of thing. And it was just really cool. And he was just like, you're gonna leave this? Like, this is us. This is who we are. And I was like, I can't do it anymore, man. I'm like, I can't fucking take the energy. I'm like, I can't take the people. I have to go. I was like, I have to go. I'm like, maybe I'll come back someday. Maybe I won't. I'm like, it'll always be my first home away from home. So to see the LA fires, I've had to stop looking at the news. And I literally had 2 things come into my orbit where spirit was like, where the thing was like, stop looking at the news. So I'm saying this to you because stop looking at the news. If you have family and friends that are hurting in other parts of the world and there's nothing you can do but pray for them, do that. But looking at it over and over and over is not, I mean, I'm like, who else lost their home? Who else died? I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, there's so many acres. I'm like, oh my God. And I've just been like, because the a big portion of what has burned is like was like my playground. That was like I don't want to I'm gonna start crying again. So anyway, but right now we are in a big rebirth energy, and there was so much awesomeness in what burned. They're not kidding. I mean, there was Pacific Palisades was like its own little world. It was so cool. There was that whole side of the hill. Like, I hung out there a lot. I couldn't afford to live there. Actually, that's not true. I could afford to live there, but like, it was too hard to go back and forth. And like, the only way you can live like that is if you can work from home or you like them. Like, you drive in to make a movie or a TV show or like, you know what I mean? But it's like, for the most part, you're like staying in your community because traffic is gridlock in LA. It's fucking horrible. And so, it would take like, I found one place that I really loved, but it would take at least an hour and a half each way for me to get to work. And I'm like, I even tried to the point where I asked my boss, what if since I have to drive so far, I was like, I can like stay with friends or something. I'm like, what if I like smashed it into like 4 days a week and then I have 3 days off, And they did try, but it just didn't work with my schedule. But I almost moved because I was like, if I was going to live in LA, I would live in the place that was burned. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. Um, so I can, a lot of tourists, and so I can see why it burned and why, like, it's like a cleansing of sorts. I'm not saying it's okay or that, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through horrible, tragic things and had to get rid of things, and my stuff has been ruined in floods, and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, flood and fire, like certain damage, like it's gone, like it's gone. You can't save it. But the devastation of a fire is horrific on every level, and there's no way you can describe it. Even though I've been witness to it and lived in LA when the fires were there was like apocalyptic moments. But I live in the Pacific Northwest, same thing, where we have these fires. We had one time where it was like we had to evacuate, and I couldn't evacuate because my husband at the time had just gotten out of the hospital, and I was like, I can't. I mean, we were living in our tiny home, our RV, which, you can only keep the smoke out so much. It's not like it's a sealed home. And we both were like, our friends were so worried about us. I'm like, how am I going to evacuate with him? I'm like, where are we going to go? I'm like, how am I going to, I was feeding him through a tube. So I know what that feels like. I know what that fear feels like. And we just waited it out. We literally waited it out. What is that noise? Did you guys hear that? Hold on. Okay, sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was really loud. It had to have been, it's probably a deer because it sounded like a person, but I don't see anybody and there's no cars around. But it was like, hold on. But we get some big ass deer around here. So I bet that's what it was. Because sometimes they'll go so close to the, drink some water. They'll go so close to the house that is like that, where I'm like, it sounds like somebody's walking around. It's kind of trippy. But I bet if I went around outside, I'm looking out a window, but I bet if I went around outside, I bet that there's one close by. So anyway, with that being said, our destiny awaits, but everything has cycles. There's birth and there's life and there's death. And it's just, it's not insensitive. It's just the way that it goes. So it's horrific when we lose something. And yeah, we cry about it. And it's interesting that this is happening over this full moon in Cancer. That's what I'm saying. It's like you're seeing all these like people from Hollywood legends to everyday people that are losing their homes, losing their neighborhoods. I mean, I saw Jennifer Garner like crying, like, she was just like, I feel awful. Like my house I can just go home right now. And she's like, and I'm losing, she lost a friend, like one of her friends from church, couldn't get out. And I mean, just like all these things, like there was a story about a mother. I mean, I know this stuff's happening all over the world, of course, I know. And I'm not like diminishing that. I'm just saying like, I lived there for a long time. So it's like, it feels like home. And I didn't live in that area, but I hung out in that area a lot. And so I've just been like really trying to digest all of that, and like watching things, like seeing these pictures of places that like I haunted like 25, 30 years ago. It's gone, like just completely gone. It's like when Notre Dame in Paris in France burned down, and well, it didn't burn down, but a big portion of it, was gone. All I remember is when I was leaving, I literally like said to my friend, I don't know why, but I feel like I want to lay on the floor and look up. And I did. And I know a lot of people, because it's still a church, I mean, there wasn't a service going on, but it's still, like a church, and people still go in there and light candles and whatever. But I went in there and I laid down and looked up, and that is gone. That thing that I looked at, the original ceiling that was there for hundreds of years, is gone. You know what I mean? But that's what it is. It's like life, death, rebirth, life, death, rebirth. And that's what they want us to remember, is the cycles. I think it's a critter, because I threw a can outside for the recycling to put in the bin from Bubba's food. I bet it's a critter. As I just heard it again, and it's actually venison and pumpkin. I hope it's not a deer. Unless they're smelling it and being like, I've never have given venison to Bubba before, but because of her body's like going through all these things right now, they've been having me feed her stuff she's never eaten before or wouldn't eat before. But the pumpkin and the venison like really help her. Anyway, so I digress, but I just wanted to tell you guys that, like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Do you want me to read from the book? Yeah, they want me to read from the book. So it's number 46, again, number 10. And this is our last message, and we're going to wrap it up. And it says, this marker portends a time of transformation, a total change of attitude, the death of the old. Regardless of how death presents itself, it is a necessary aspect of all things. Always remember the phoenix that rises up out of its own ashes to soar in the wind, renewed and filled with life. Death is the winter of things, part of the cycle of life. When you receive this marker, you are reminded that all things have their season. Take courage, for in surrendering to death, in time you will be blessed with extraordinary new life. Rejoice, for that which dies fertilizes and fortifies the new. Endings always point to fresh beginnings. Oh, and you know what's interesting? The next card in the book is number 47, which is also the number 11. Today's the 111 portal. And it's trust. And when I started to put your reading together, on the floor, 2 cards fell on the floor. Love and trust. And love was upright and trust was upside down. So it could even be something for some of you guys that you're in a relationship or you're in a situationship or something where the reason why it's in such discord is because there's no trust. And the sad thing is, the reason why there's no trust is because both of you have done things. Well, actually, I'm hearing for some of you, it could be more one-sided, but I definitely feel like there's somebody in the relationship that's just a little more. It's funny, I'm looking at dill, like the herb, but I heard the word dull, meaning like I feel like one of you is like really shiny and bright and the other one is like in dull, like in shadow. Like maybe they're not even in shadow, maybe they're just kind of in a depressive state and you can't pull them out of it and you've been really struggling. I'm getting that too. I'm also hearing from Spirit that that's not your job. Like, it's not your job to fix them. And I'll share my personal story very quickly, that my partner and I are separated. It may be for good this time, like really genuinely, it may be. We've broken up and gotten back together so many times in almost 10 years. I literally couldn't tell you unless I had to sit down and count it out. It's a lot. But it's because he and I were brought here to challenge each other and help each other change into the beings we're meant to be. The last few times I hung out with him, that is not the person that I said I do to in front of nature and our beloved Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever names you're like family. Like, we were in the woods having our beautiful like old school betrothal ceremony. Like, there was so much love there, and over the years we've had so much love that I know that exists too. But if it's true that he's like, this is who I am, blah, 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 then I'm like, well, goodbye, Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, dun, 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 dun. Because even if he's like, I don't treat anybody like this, like you, I'm like, yes, but then what part of you is like so dark that like attacks me and it's like, hello, it's your shadow because I'm light and I'm being loving and kind to you. So there could be something, that's mirroring in your life that is going along with mine. Or this is sometimes I watch my own readings back and laugh that I'm like, oh, thanks, thank you, future self. Well, in that situation, it would be like, thank you, past self. Now I'm in the future, right? But because the messages are always the same. In real time, it is 1/11/2025. It's also the number 12, the number 3, if that means anything to you. Tomorrow is the 13th day, the day of the goddess. And then Monday, the full moon in Cancer, is actually the 13th, which is a 4, which is about balance. And there's a lot of prosperity that's coming to us as well, but we need to shed. The Cancer energy gives us permission to cry and let it go, and to push back and say, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I need. And what I don't need is you telling me who you think I am, because this is who I am. But you cry, you get it out, you do what you need to do, you take care of you. And let me see if we have any more messages that are coming through. We've been rhyming all day. Okay, Spirit, do we have any more messages for reading 3 before we close this out? 3 hours and 42 minutes, but I started this like 6 hours, or no, I don't know how many hours ago, but either way, it's been a blast. I've been having a lot of fun. Any more messages for reading 3 before we close the portal? Nope, that's it. And just a refresher, if you didn't watch the other readings or the group reading, all of my information is on the main page. When you click on Welcome Witches, Healers, and Deep Down Believers, if you click on that, that'll take you down to all of my information. If you'd like any personal work with me, email me, magicalmedium@gmail.com. It's all there. And then also I have over to the side the links to my other channels, Bubba's channel, Lula's Labyrinth, and we have links for Venmo and to Amazon if you'd like to contribute to the work on this channel. Also, one last thing, I am doing a new show, so to speak, a new segment on the Magical Medium channel where I will be doing readings for people, either with them or I will get their information and their questions, and then I will put it out for everyone to hear. People really like those messages. It's going to be pure channeling though. So if you'd like to speak to someone who's crossed over, if you're like, I'm looking for something and I can't find it, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff. That's the fun little like treasure hunts I like to take people on. Or if you need to speak to an ancestor to find out how to deal with a parent or a family member, something like that, it is free. You do not have to pay for it. Your exchange of energy is allowing me to put it on the channel. You do not have to use your name. You can go on and use your whole self. That's fine. We can do it in person. Through Skype or Zoom or something like that. If not, we could do it over the phone, and I will just record it and it will come up like this, like a podcast. You will not see us. You will, I don't have to use your name. You can say, hey, I want to use Sage, and I'll be like, okay, we'll use the name Sage the entire time. If you've been with me for years, if you've known me for years and you still want to do it, that's okay. And a lot of you have said, can I contribute? Yes, always, of course. But you do not have to, and it is definitely not a requirement. The exchange of energy is for you to help and promote the channel, because this is the year that the Magical Medium is going to soar. It's going to take off, and you guys are going to be looking at this channel going, I knew this channel when, because it is time. It is going to be in the style of like Tyler Henry, but he does his own thing, or they do their own thing, and I do my own thing. But it's going to be amazing. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm running out of time. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other. And make sure to check out the description box too, because there's all those links to all the other things that I spoke about. Okay. And take good care of yourselves around this full moon if you're seeing this in real time. Okay. Please, please, please. I love you so much. Look out for you. Spend a lot of time alone. Okay. And if you're drawn to the other readings or the group reading, go check them out. I'll see you next time. Blessed be. I hope. Love you. Bye.